Hey, what's going on, everybody? And thanks for joining us again. We are live. Strong transition. We got Brian back, and I think we're going to have a handle on today's episode. So we love you, Doug. Great efforts last week. But on today's docket, we've got some fun topics. So today we're discussing, are people losing interest in movie theaters, or is it just that new movies suck? Next, we're going to move on to how France is preparing for the Olympics, and they're going to have the Olympians race in a poisonous river. And finally, Julian Assange is flying back to Australia following a U.S. plea deal after 12 years. So we got a lot of fun ones to dive into. I'll be interested to see if at any point we lose our feed. So hang in tight and see if we still have you till the end of the episode. But that being said, I can't do without my good friend and my co-host, David Cunningham. How you doing today, my friend?
You know what? I'm doing pretty good. And welcome, good people of the internet. I'm hoping we have a full feed, or if it's just I hope the feed either just cuts off black, so we either know and not just get this weird shadow ban from the internet. We just keep just droning on in front of essentially just Doug over here.
Good old Doug.
Yeah. You know, also, one more thing. It's getting a little too hot outside.
Yeah, it's getting wild.
For a man who loves the heat, boy, I'm not enjoying it right now. You know who's really not enjoying it, though? Brian?
Our Snowmaster General.
Yeah. Surprisingly, I am loving it.
Whoa.
I do love the summer. I love all the seasons, but obviously my favorite's winter. I don't know. Be-rizzle my shizzle. What's up, people? Ready to get outside, ready to do some hiking and some exploring. I don't even know what's going on. Let's go.
I love it. But before we dive into the great topics we got lined up for us, let's introduce the people joining us in the Pickle Gallery. Of course, the fan favorite in the wing in the studio, not to be seen, is our good friend Dougie Fresh. We got Doug. But also joining us, as always, is our good friend from Just Another Day TV, Ricardo Wright. Ricky, how you doing, my good friend?
Hello, my friend. I'm happy to be here today. It's Just Another Day TV. The topics today is going to be very inspirational, very satisfying. I'm looking forward to a great throw. Please drop comments, people, in the chat, okay? Thank you.
You're talking like how
We outside, though. We here,
I
people.
was just about to say, no, that's not fair. What's funny is the dude comes walking in looking like Cam Newton and says, hey, introduce me. I'm going to throw in my French accent because we're going to Paris. Yeah. Could you tell? That was a French accent?
I'm just saying, I came in fashionable, Paris is all about the fashion, So I came in fashionable.
Well, as much as I appreciate you doing that, I think this is a perfect time to transition to the person that can actually humble us with our chief of international affairs from Toronto, giving us the true French perspective. We got Silent Destroyer. How you doing today, Silent?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you guys so much for having me, as always. How's everybody doing today?
Good. Hey, can you humble Ricky with a little bit of the real stuff?
Give me your best French word.
Ricky Tabarnet, pour son coussé, posez avec moi, posez, s'il vous plaît.
Ricky. Ricky's saying something. What you saying?
You ain't gonna talk to me like that, brother. I am French. When we say we gonna Paris, we in Paris, brother. Come on, brother. We brothers. Okay, the accent went off, but we're here for a good time. We're here for a good show. Accent out of here now. Silent for disgrace. Sorry for disgracing your culture. Silent.
I didn't know Ricky was bilingual.
You're good. You're doing great. You're good.
All right, let's dive into the first topic here. I think things are going to get a little contentious because I know I definitely have an opposite opinion of Doug on this. So I think we're going to have a bit of diversity of opinion. But don't forget, the whole purpose of the live show is to get you involved. So be sure to be commenting so we can get your perspective to add a little bit of dimension to the dialogue here. So moving forward, movies. Directors and producers have spent the last, 5+ years blaming you, the audience, for their failed productions. Well, the audience, they weren't ready for a female superhero. They're racist. They don't get the film. They just don't want movies to be enjoyed in theaters anymore, and they prefer them at home. So movie theaters have suffered the last few years, partially due to the pandemic, but majorly due to the lack of new creativity found at movie production studios. So they've had to adapt. What has been the adjustment? They've adjusted by reselling you the old movies. Ironically, I just got the new Cinemark pass, and I'm like, there's really no new good movies I'm dying to go see. But let's see what's there. Nothing, of course, sticks out to me. But Doug, you'll love this. I did see the old OG South Park movie was in theaters.
Really?
And I'm like, I would go see. I mean, I haven't seen it in long enough.
Oh, wow.
I think that would be a thrill. And the numbers are showing that the resale of old favorites are selling out. Now, are they able to do 12 theaters all day and sell them all out? No. Maybe it's just 3 or 4 showings throughout the day. But the viewership is there. The demand is there. I think there's a demand that just simply isn't being fed. And why is that? Brian, if you could, we're going to click over to video 1 here. This is Matt Shaver on TikTok. And I think he really nails kind of what they're selling us.
You want to see a new movie? Is there anything actually new? Yeah, Dune. That's a sequel. Okay, how about Furiosa? That's a prequel. Godzilla? Sequel. Quiet Place? Prequel. How about Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead? That's a remake. Garfield? Remake. Twisters? Remake. Roadhouse? Remake. Okay, what about the new Beverly Hills Cop? If you have to say new, it's not new. Beetlejuice. Sequel. Deadpool and Wolverine. Been there and done that. Bad Boys, Ride or Die. I'd rather die. Mean Girls. Mean to make that. Planet of the Apes. I don't know what it is, but it's not new. Joker 2. Gladiator 2. Moana 2. Sequel. Sonic 3. Venom 3. Sequel. Kung Fu Panda 4. Despicable Me 4. Sequel. They're all damn sequels. Woody Woodpecker Goes to Camp. Wait, that's a movie that came out this year. Yeah. Okay, yeah, let's see that. Oh, wait, it's a sequel. Are you kidding me?
So, okay, let's break a little bit down before I throw it to the room. Furiosa is a prequel, but honestly, a really good movie. If I'm going to sit here and be honest, I would put Mad Max in like top 5 favorite movies of all time.
Oh, really?
Does Furiosa match that? No, but don't try to compete with it. Be different, but the same. And I think it strikes a different chord with me, but still a chord. Mad Max really, I think, is a cinematic masterpiece because that was real. There was such a lack of CGI in a hyper computerized world. And so it was refreshing to have real vehicles and real stunts and real fire. And I think that's what kind of touched the audiences more than a really complicated storyline. Well, we don't have the ability to do movies like we used to. We just lost that art. It's just cheaper and easier to make these high profit CGI movies. So don't try to compete with what was great. Create something new. And where I think Furiosa really succeeded, even though the box office is going to say that it didn't do as well as they had hoped, there was a lot more dialogue, a lot more story. It was refreshing to see a story in, again, half a decade that feels like there hasn't been new stories. Roadhouse was so cheeky. Oh my goodness. Conor McGregor was the cheesiest villain ever. Terrible acting. But truthfully, that's what made it even more fun. Him just walking around being so over the top. Like, it was so unreal. It made it fun. And then you just have your main character, Jake Gyllenhaal, looks literally like a superhero. Whatever that dude did to get in shape for that movie, that in and of itself was so impressive. The way this dude looked, you're like, oh my God, I'm behind this protagonist. You go to watch it, it's a very basic, everyday, run-of-the-mill story, but again, a remake, so it wasn't going to be very new. But it was fun. Is it something I'm going to go watch again? No. But at least it's something new that gets me out. Was it going to get me into a theater? No. But I bring up Roadhouse is worth acknowledging because Jake Gyllenhaal actually was outspoken against the production heads because they, in his eyes, tanked the overall review of the movie by allowing it to go to Amazon at the same time as the theaters. And he felt that that was, shortchanging a true evaluation of the film. And we'll get to it. And Doug's going to be the first to jump in and say, well, it's because the people would prefer to watch it at home. I want to take my potty breaks when I want to go. I want to eat my snacks. He roll some doinks and hang out and be in the comfort of my own home. Sure. Okay. I could see that perspective. But, something that I really resonate with my dad, something he and I really kind of resonate with each other is, in a world where my brain has kind of been manipulated, I actually can't sit there and watch a movie without, getting bored. What creates that lack of attention span? Well, I was playing video games with 2 TVs for years. I'd have one TV and playing the video game and a movie going. And now it's when you just sit and watch a movie, that's boring. I need to be getting Fortnite dubs with the boys as I'm watching Shrek. I can't just do the one. And so there's also a serenity, a peace to the removing of yourself from this hyper-connected, hyper-digital world and isolating yourself with your friends in a theater. What has Steve got here for us? With DVDs no longer being a thing, the market has completely changed. This is very true. It's box office releases that are the way they are see all their profits now. One of their reasons why chick flicks and rom-coms don't come out anymore. Well, also that's a humbling reality to just what the market is. Yeah. But again, you're going to make rom-coms a lot more enticing if it's a date activity that I can take my girlfriend to. Like, you ain't ever getting me in a rom-com if there isn't a chick that's trying to get me to also go see that rom-com. Now you'll be like, well, she'll come hang out at your house. Okay. It's equally as enticing to have her come into your house and watch it, or you go to her house. But I just don't think it's the same. By remakes and spin-offs of the big blockbusters, they attack a large target audience already established. I mean, yes, it is already established, but, maybe I'm going to flip it to the room before we get to it. But, that comment is also going to have to be balanced with Disney goes and buys one of the biggest audiences of all time, Star Wars. And I mean, you poop in your hand and smear it in their face enough times. It doesn't matter how big of an audience you bought. At some point, they're going to get tired of eating poop. They're going to walk away. I'm flipping it to the room. What are your thoughts?
All right. So we got to remember, at least this year, I think this is going to be the first year we're seeing the effects of the writer's strike. So a lot of movies
That's true too.
were even there's probably a ton of movies we didn't know were set to be released this year that weren't, just because of the whole writer's strike. So I think there's a bit of lack of quantity just in general. I think quality's subjective. I think we can go around the room and say, well, I think, Godzilla, X Kong is the best thing in the world, but you may not think so. However, I think we're just not seeing the same amount, like a quantity of movies this year due to that writer's strike. And I think another part of it as well, and you touched on it really, really nicely, the whole having the phone with you, being able to if I don't really if I'm not vibing with the scene, I'll just look at my phone for a little bit until it catches my interest again. That's why I think movies like Top Gun Maverick.
Wait, real quick, not to cut you off.
Okay.
Do you know how screwed this new world has gotten me? I will sit there and see, and go, boring dialogue. This dialogue seems very boring, House of Dragons. And then I go to go to my phone, and then like 20 minutes later, I'm like, what the hell is going on? And it's like, dude, you just missed like the most important part. And I'm like, yeah, but it was dry. That scene was just dry enough to get me to Instagram. I got a problem.
I literally did that yesterday watching the second episode. I like was on my phone, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait, what are they talking about?
See,
Yeah.
I did the same thing.
So something like Mad Max or like Top Gun Maverick, there's just like, visuals I just can't go on YouTube and just watch. So it makes it a lot more captivating when it finally does happen on those big screens. And I think we're also, to I think Steve's credit too, with the rom-coms and like the chick flicks, you have to have something incredibly special with a lot of talent to get people in and excited. Where I think that style of movie now is just shifting towards the screens. Like, well, if you're not super duper excited about a movie, I'll wait. It'll eventually come to streaming. And we're starting to become trained with that. So I don't.
Which again, I got to ask you, is there a problem with that? This comes back to my grievance I'm throwing back at the producers and the directors. Like, if your movie is not dookie, if it's just dookie enough to show up on my screen, but not good enough to pull me out of my house, then you don't deserve my monies. These are my dollars. So like we've let them get away with force feeding us crap for too long, to the point where when we just don't want the crap anymore, they get mad. They're like, well, then it's clear you don't like movies in the theaters anymore. We need to go where our profits are the highest. It's like, how about instead of trying to squeeze the most juice out of the crappiest raisin, grow more fruitful grapes, fresher, nicer things, newer things?
Well, I think there's some of that, but I think they get all the wrong lessons from the successes they get. So
Fair.
like with Shrek, they oh wow, Shrek became a big deal, and now we got to go 3D animation all the time and just do kind of lowbrow humor. And then they realize, maybe like something like Inside Out. Ooh, very nice. That's actually very thought-provoking. I like listening to that. We'll do some of that. They keep flip-flopping on themselves. Just like when DC saw Marvel. Oh, everyone had to do a cinematic universe because Marvel did it and it was successful. So they just keep trying to copycat each other without really understanding why something works. Like that Roadhouse remake. I don't think they really understood what made Roadhouse kind of a cult classic, not like a good movie, but a cult classic. And they tried to kind of put it in the same thing, put some different actors to it. And it just didn't work for me. Where they're just so afraid to do new ideas that aren't tied to some sort of specific IP. Where I'd rather just go to like straight to streaming movies, or I'd rather do a TV show. I wonder how much talent that was originally in Hollywood that would make these big blockbuster movies are now just going to TV. Because now I can fully tell my story. I get probably a more consistent paycheck because you get seasons versus one, it's rolling the dice if this movie's going to be successful or not, if I'm going to get another gig. I wonder how much of that is just due to just sheer, consistent income from constant work.
That is a brilliant point. Moving on, because we got the pickle gallery getting itchy. Let's start with Ricky. Ricky, what are your thoughts, my friend?
So I have a lot of. I had to. Yeah, it's getting hot in here. I can't be French forever. So I got a lot of sides on this. Like, if I'm going to the movies, I'm looking who the director is, because like a director like Christopher Nolan that like use limited CGI, he used it where it's needed. He doesn't just throw it at it. You know what I mean? His movies. I look for directors. I look for like sequels and shit. Like Roadhouse, I'd even paid attention. I know it's releasing on Amazon and everything. Conor McGregor, I love UFC. I didn't even watch it. I didn't even care because I was like, the original Roadhouse was good to me, but I didn't even watch it twice. If I'm going to the movies, it's with my girl. Like, we have to come to an agreement on a movie, and it has to be good. Like the Planet of the Apes new movie, we went and seen that because We follow the franchise. We love, everything about it. So we actually went to the theater, sit down, but the theaters are still half full. Our theater's always half full, no matter, and we get the movies a day before. So it's always half full. We always get it on Thursday. But I always look for the directors. I look if it's the sequel and stuff of that sort. And since I'm in a relationship, I can't just pop up in a movie with myself. I don't want to be accused of nothing, you know what I mean? So we have to come to a conclusion of what movies we are gonna see together, and is it worth it? We didn't go see Barbie because I didn't want to see it. She wanted to see it, so we just didn't go see it. He has to. So it ain't nobody that's because I usually fall asleep at movies if I don't like the movie.
Oh,
Like I'm real quick to just go out.
You fall asleep often at movies?
Bro, listen. If it's not a movie I want to see, after the freaking pilot, the introduction of the characters, I'm out. I'm out. Couple popcorns, a drink, I'm out.
Is there a point where you just choose to sleep, or it lullabies you to sleep? But you don't, hey, I just end up getting too comfortable. It's dark.
Okay.
Or do you just go,
Movies,
I'm out?
A lot of movies be getting boring because, like, I watch a lot of movies at home as well, and I have to rewatch it because it's so boring. I fall asleep. I be in it. I don't get distracted by like going on another device and stuff. Once I choose something to watch, I choose to watch it. And I'm very selective nowadays because the writing has went down the shitter. Very bad. Like, especially my shows like Chicago PD and Law and Orders and stuff like that. It's the same copy and paste over and over. And I was tired of it. I boycotted for a little bit, but they got better. They got back better, and I'm back on it. But the writing had got to shitter. The writer's strike earlier last year affected my shows. I didn't get fall shows. So I had to wait till after winter, New Year's, to get all my fall shows. And it's still going, which I like. Usually it would have been over already. But I still got my shows.
So are you a theater guy or are you a staying at home guy?
I'm a both.
Right, but if you had to prefer, do you have a preference, or you're just you are an advocate for both?
I'm an advocate for both because it depends on the director and depends on the movie. Like,
so make good
you
stuff.
gotta go to the movies.
well, I think you have to earn the big screen. You can't just throw any. It used to be every movie went to the big screen because that's the only outlet for it. Now, I don't think rom-coms make sense on the big screen anymore. If anything, it might make more sense for like you showed it at a comedy club.
Netflix would probably buy all the rom-coms.
No, really. It's you get a small, more intimate environment, something you're like a little more excited for. Rom-coms aren't the. I don't.
Interesting.
I don't really want.
And that goes into what Alex said.
Laughing at who's a rom-com. Well, there's no more anymore. But
David, you and Alex just created a perfect thing because Alex said they're going for the experience, so they can invite their girlfriend in a closer settings for something they actually want to see, and it's going to be like an event now.
Private leather booths.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So you know what gets people back in the movies?
You don't want to hear the skin crack.
What gets back people back in the movies is the 4D stuff coming out with the chairs shaking and like you can smell like smoke in the air and stuff of that nature. That's gonna get back people in the theaters.
I'd like a 4D theater that gives everybody their own private spaces.
I think we're just starting to, we're starting to invent strip clubs.
But Alex, they have those.
All right, let's ground ourselves.
But Alex, hold on. They have those theaters where you can go have dinner and watch the movies.
Oh yeah, and you can have alcoholic beverages. You get the soft, cushy seats that recline. I don't know what Doug's talking about.
But then you got to hear all their plates and silverware clanking together throughout the whole show. That was
plates and silverware. No,
that's why I hate those places. It's an awesome idea, but then they keep eating throughout the show, and it's annoying.
Yeah, and you got to worry about ordering it, especially if someone takes the order from you. I've seen it done several different ways, and there's not really a good, elegant solution yet, other than ordering the food and then bringing it to your seat. And now we're just talking about a regular theater.
Right. But again, I don't need food. Are you not happy with Raisinets and popcorn? Like, what happened to slushies and nachos? All of it's silent. All of it's satisfying. I mean, it all goes hand in hand with the experience. It's kind of like do you really want, a T-bone steak in an Indians game? Or is a good old tube steak and a beer, a glizzy and a beer, exactly what you want at a ball game? And it's not because the tube steak is the best meal I could have today on a Friday, but they're $1. I can have 14 of them. It's 75 degrees on a beautiful day in Cleveland. Why would that not be what we want? All right, so let's ground ourselves and bring in our good friend, Silent Destroyer. Silent, what are your thoughts?
I think movies are slowly dying because YouTube and social media and streaming platforms are killing them. That's all that it is. It's just the audience is slowly shifting away from the theater towards YouTube content and live stream content and things like that. And I think that's why all these producers and directors are complaining about it, because they're feeling the effect of them not adjusting and not pivoting to what the market wants. Because as you guys thoroughly discussed, if you're going to go to the theater, it better be a damn good movie. Otherwise, most people are not going to go pay 20, 30, 40 bucks for a popcorn and a movie, because they could just get the same experience for free on YouTube. You could just watch a Wendover Productions or a real life lore video, and you can get just as much entertainment and information from that one video as any movie that's come out in the last 5 years.
I mean, there is a very good point to be had here, and it's that, with algorithms that get so addicting that kids will catch themselves stuck in a TikTok loop for 3 hours of their day and then just be like, oh my God, my day is gone. Or I could really have an effective evening of 5 Mr. Beast videos and never leave my house and be more entertained. And when someone like Mr. Beast is, I don't know, supplying a set that's like $500,000, and he's investing as much into his YouTube video that a production studio would, it's kind of almost like, that's competition.
Mm-hmm.
You won't let them in their theaters. They found a different way to broadcast pretty much the same content or product, but to you, it's viewed as a different product. The production studios and movie studios, only because it's coming from a different source.
Mm-hmm.
The audience is consuming it the same way. It's having the same impact and effect. I mean, let's all agree, a guy like Sketch has probably more impact on our day-to-day than Ryan Reynolds does. Ryan Reynolds today cannot get baseball players, tennis, every person across the world going, "What's up, brother?" I mean, when he first popped off, we knew something big was happening. It was like St. Patrick's Day, and we go into the bathroom, and just the guys being dudes. You've got like just one guy says it like Tuesday, and everybody just starts popping off. And it's like, this dude is bigger than life. He's traveling the world with other streamers in Europe and elsewhere. And it's just interesting because very clearly that's a threat. Yeah. And so we need to do something about that. And I don't know. I guess my position is that it's actually kind of surprising that going to a streaming platform, your movie going to Netflix, Amazon Prime, HBO, whatever, the fact that that's tending to be more profitable. I mean, to me, that speaks to how much stupid spending money these streaming platforms have. Netflix is like, yeah, sure, shit, we'll overpay for something that somebody, like, we're going to have, let's run the statistics. 45% of our viewers wasted their time using this as a background filler. Cool, we need background fillers, and you need to sell your movie, and we'll kind of manipulate the advantage here and get, sole production rights or something.
Yeah.
And you're happy because you got one flat check. I'm happy because even if it isn't good product, I don't need good product. I'm selling quantity. It's kind of like when people subscribe to those stupid like mailers. Oh, I get the Marvel mailers once a month, and I pay $70 a month, and they give me like T-shirts of Guardians of the Galaxy, and I get, Spider-Man this and that. And it's like, do you guys not realize what those boxes are? They go to these merchandise sellers, and the merchandise that they can't sell and that is like stocking up or they have overproduction on, they give to you, and they make it seem like it's all part of this huge. And then it's so funny. I'll watch these people do their like unveiling where they open. I'm doing a opening for YouTube, and like one thing is popping. Like, you know what? I kind of really like this shirt. Yeah, and then they convince themselves like, yeah. I really like this shirt. I mean, I really don't like the Princess Peach glass that I got, and like, this headband and all this. But I could mess with this shirt. It's like, or go figure. This is too much forethought. Again, planning for the future, accounting. I get it. Shouldn't expect this of you. But what could also be cool is if you just took $70 a month and just bought whatever the hell you wanted. Like if you just wanted, instead of the Princess Peach glass, you and I think it'd be cool, a collection of Mario and Luigi glasses. Well, I don't know, if you just had the funds to buy what you wanted because you weren't, wasting the funds on random grab bag mystery boxes, you'd be good. But I go on the tangent because it's tied to streaming platforms. We will trade convenience for individuality. Like we really don't get to choose what we watch tonight. We shop around in Netflix, we shop around in Amazon, because we're not going to spend $22 for the movie to rent or whatever. So I'm just going to go through the collection they have. Well, if that's the case, Netflix, I don't have to have the greatest collection ever. Just got to have a couple that are bangers, couple that are good, and the rest can be mediocre and or shit. I mean, half of it's in Indian or Chinese, and you can't even hear it or understand it, but we've got the biggest collection ever. And how many times now do you feel yourself scanning through Netflix and you're like, oh my God, I got nothing to watch, but yet you've got the biggest collection you could possibly have?
Well, I want to disagree with you a little bit on that, because I think instead of people searching for background music, we're starting to get to our hyper niches where everyone's got their own individualism that they just dive straight down in. Well, I like building motorcycles, so I'm going to watch nothing but YouTube videos on other people building motorcycles, reviewing motorcycles, finding motorcycles in a junkyard, and that's their sole entertainment. So anymore, I might have a little bit of a theory burgeoning on here that the Marvel movies were so successful because it was so many people's tisms. And then once they started kind of getting sick of it, now they need to start going to another tism. And I think YouTube, even by like Nielsen ratings, YouTube's still the most watched thing, I think, in the United States. Over all streaming platforms, over all TV, it is YouTube. So if you're able to find exactly what you want and shop for it that way, some of this other background stuff's more of just like, I think it's more like the TikTok crowd who are just, I'm scrolling. Oh, the boys are on. Oh, making fun of conspiracy theorists. Scroll. And just they do a lot of that. So I think it's difficult for movies to hyper specify on just like one person's niche that doesn't alienate the rest of the crowd.
That's fair. Can you bring back Silent Destroyer? We kind of got lost in that. I wanted to give him an opportunity to finish his thoughts.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to what you guys were saying, is that it is up to these movie studios and the directors and the executive to adjust and pivot to the market, because clearly the market is speaking and it is up to them to listen and to pivot. And if they don't listen and they don't pivot, then they're just going to have movies that are going to be ran in empty theaters. And that's just how it's going to be. So I think the ball is kind of in their park to decide of, okay, do we want to adjust and, distribute in the theater and in the streaming services like they did with that Jake Gyllenhaal movie that you guys were talking about earlier?
Yeah.
Or do you want to actually have it only in the theaters and make it so good and so polished and so exclusive that people are like, hey, maybe I will go see that. And if it's not going to be anywhere on the streaming movies or anywhere on the streaming platforms, then yeah, I'm going to take the time to go see it, because if that's the only way to get it and to see it, then I'm going to, go out of my way and actually make it happen.
I mean, in response to that, think about Barbie and Oppenheimer. You have these two movies come out after a total dry spout after the pandemic. No big movies. Theaters are struggling. We really couldn't even gather together. And you had theater or studios that really couldn't record. So again, a drought. And where there was a lot of crappy movies, the whole world and their neighbor pretty much came out to both of these movies, if not at least one of them. And so again, as long as you're the one diamond in the field of turds, there will still be that demand that draws people out. And again, I want to circle back to a point I raised earlier. We cannot deny the huge demand of audience goers that are going to see old movies. So it isn't us. It's not that I don't get it and I just can't understand a strong female lead because just my penis keeps getting in the way. It's kind of almost like you just keep throwing turds at me, and the second you give me a diamond, I'm gonna jump at it. So I don't know. First, let's get to Doug. Doug has been patiently sitting here, and I was about to dive into wrapping thoughts, but I forgot we haven't even touched Doug's hardcore debate, because he is going to be the advocate for ripping the theaters from the rest of us.
I'm definitely pro staying home, because like every major theater,
because I'm a hermit.
Every major theater has their own streaming service now, and I'm paying for most of them. So my thing is, all right, I'm paying you X dollars a month. That adds up to a ticket pretty fast. Might as well just wait. No big deal. Oppenheimer, I did want to see in theaters, but then I was like, 3 hours. I'm like, I don't know if I want to sit.
I can't hold my pee that long.
That was also one of my fears, man. I don't want to go in the bathroom and miss the bomb go boom. But I will definitely be going to see.
I wonder what happened during that part.
But
Hey, can you rewind
Ricky
that
mentioned like a good director. Like, we all know Quentin Tarantino's only got like one movie left. He said that they wanted him to do a Star Trek. He goes, I don't know if I want that to be my last movie. So he's got like one movie left in him. He says, I will go see Tarantino's last movie in theater because he's a great director. I've liked almost everything he's made. So, it kind of is quality. Like, if there's a good movie I want to see, I will probably go see it. But then it's like, if I'm just iffy on it, I might as well just wait for it to come out. And it's easier that way and less money.
Doug's just patient.
No,
yeah.
Doug's a hermit. He wants to be able to enjoy
I waited
it
like
home.
a year for Oppenheimer to come out. So
you're like
patience.
one of those angry maskers during the pandemic. It's like, I don't want to go outside. The outside scares me and the light burns my skin. So I don't want anybody going outside. It's like, Doug, no one said you can wait a year and a half. Let us have our fun. We'll go to the theater where we all want to be. We'll talk about it at the lunch table. You hang tight. And in a year and a half, when you could catch it at your streaming service and you could pee at your leisure with your mama's Skittles sitting right in front of you, just, you can enjoy it. You don't have to take it away from us.
I'm not saying I personally wouldn't care. I'm not saying they should, actually, I would like if they do. I don't really give a shit. But if there is a good movie, I'd still go see it. It's just, and then, you're probably about to talk about Kathleen Kennedy. She kind of makes me never want to pay to see any Disney Lucasfilms thing ever again, because she just keeps running her mouth on some of the dumbest shit.
Well, it's fair. DC's still on his clowning game. Guys fooling around. Truth is, dude, nobody's going to a theater because they're trying to get an award. I need to humble you a bit, my friend. The truth is, people are just trying to go to a theater for a good time. Just like anything else you do for fun. Fun isn't necessarily for an award. We don't have to do everything for an award, especially we would be one of the first to remind us that, we're getting an award for everything anymore, right? So I'm not going for an award. I'm just looking for fun. And if the preference is from the audience that we'd like to actually make an evening of it, whether it be with our date, even though some of us don't have them, or, it's with going out with your dad, trying to make a thing of it. Because like Ricky said, Ricky went to the Planet of the Apes with his girlfriend because they were into the series. Well, I bonded over that over the course of 8-9 years with my dad. So that's why we went to go see it. I remember when Freddy Krueger, like the reboot came out, and it was like 2012, 2011 or something.
Something like that.
And like the midnight release, something that's just like dead of the past.
Oh, wow.
those were always
awesome.
so much fun.
How about
Those
this?
were
Brian
fun.
and I skipped school, got out, got to the theater at like noon, waited in line all day so we could be like first to go see the Avengers when it came out, the first Avengers. And again, that just comes back to it being an event. Guess what? Nobody gave me an award. DC, there's literally nothing on my shelf, and I rarely ever brag about this or talk about it. It's just a fun memory I share with a friend. And guess what, Doug? There isn't a single piece of content, or there is not a single film that we could truly enjoy in your living room that would ever have the same event impact.
Oh, I'll
that
agree.
going to a theater.
I
with,
went
like,
to
my
the
friend would.
midnight for Avengers, and that was huge.
Right. And so I'm
Huge.
just saying there's no
But that was different
experience in
time,
your
though,
living
man.
room that will hold a candle to that.
Well, if they come out with a good Avengers that isn't crap from Marvel, I'll go to a midnight release. Oh, wait, they don't even do those anymore. Now it's Thursdays at like
yeah,
noon.
the
they
Thursday
release.
Thursday nights are kind
With this question going here, bring in Silent real quick. I mean, the truth is, Silent, I think part of the selling point is going to be you could get it cheaper for a theater. A thing that they're constantly throwing in your face is, who wants to pay $12 for a ticket and $25 for popcorn and a soda and boogity, whatever else they're complaining about. And if you do it in your living room, you get your Skittles for $1 and you get to have 6 of your friends over. And if you all throw in $7, it's as if, and so that's the selling point is you don't want to buy it and just watch it in your house by yourself. It's turn your home into the movie theater. Truthfully, it's probably because none of you know how to be well behaved in a theater anymore. And they're like, keep your mess and ruckus at home.
Ooh, yeah, that's
I don't know.
one
What are
thing
your
we kinda
thoughts?
missed.
I think too the reason I brought that up is because when I was like a teen and like 15 years ago and 20 years ago, the theater was very accessible. It was cheap. It was something to do like, hey, I want to kill 2-3 hours. I don't have anything to do at home because we weren't as connected to social media back then. So let me spend $5 and go chill at a movie for a couple of hours, because back then we didn't have access to cheap dopamine like we do with TikTok and Reels and all that as well too, right? So
it was MySpace.
that's also what it is too, right? Is that
That's so true.
this accessible, cheap entertainment is just not at the theater anymore too. It's in your phone.
Wow.
Yeah.
He just nailed it.
That's true.
I think he nailed it.
I think you nailed it. I mean, I think that's all right. Let's land this topic. Wrapping thoughts. It is annoying and I think a sad reflection of what the market has become when everything has become a sequel or a prequel to the thing that you've already sold us. And I think it's lazy writing. I think it's a sheer lack of creativity. But maybe that is because we're getting such free, cheap dopamine. We don't know how to come up with unique. I mean, AI is writing for us anymore. So we don't need to have that muscle. That muscle has been compensated for. But we still keep coming out for it and we still keep getting excited for it because undeniably, some of it still does slap. Like again, Furiosa was great.
Fantastic.
I am genuinely excited to see Beetlejuice. I will go see that movie. But do any of them ever really hold a candle to the golden gems that are totally original, totally unique? It was just recent that Seth Rogen came out and said, I've continuously of recent been approached again for a Superbad 2. And that is one that we refuse to recreate.
Yeah.
It is a golden gem that they reserve in its bubble. And it's like that that is what made Superbad so fantastic. It was the first of its kind, that comedy adventure type. And then, The Hangover recreated it. And then again, and how many times did you see that same formula get recreated before it just died? We can't do it anymore. It's so overplayed. But it was at its time the first and so unique. And you'll never be able to recreate it. But I don't think we've totally lost that muscle. I have to commend the people in the room that have come up with some really great points. Silent, I think, really nailed it. But one of the things you brought up, David, that I truly resonate with is that these great creators have found freedoms in new avenues. Somebody that would have been pigeonholed to a 2-hour film because Doug's need to pee. And they're just like, I truly need an extra hour. Like, I need one more hour to make this as emotional as I truly can. I need you to fall in love with this person so when I kill him, it hurts. And that is something that is best mastered in modern super long films, which are these cinematic TV shows. House of Dragons, what's the motorcycle one we watched way back in college? Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, I love Sons of Anarchy. Best show ever.
You brought it up, but is there anything right now alongside House of Dragons that even comes close to The Boys? I mean, that is so unique. Some of it's super gay, and I have a hard I have a hard time with it. I'm not the biggest fan of some of it, but also have a Breaking Bad, one of a kind of its own. And so I think we still have it. It's just moved. You've got people. I mean, has anybody here seen CoffeeZilla? What that guy is doing on YouTube is incredible. He's building cinematic documentaries. I mean, he's got this whole CGI. I'm going to explain it because the millennials in this room are just too removed. They're not hip with the kids.
Hey, you're older than me.
But CoffeeZilla is a YouTuber that does these documentaries about other content creators and just events, phenomena. And he has this setup where it's it's all CGI, but it's as if he's in this old rundown steampunk basement, and he's got an AI robot bartender that he talks with as he talks out these cases. And it's Logan Paul scammed all of his followers in a NFT scam. And I mean, this dude is bringing true justice. I mean, the way he's bringing accountability and reporting the truth. One, it's extremely fruitful and it's extremely beneficial. And at the same time, it's totally unique and totally independent. It's not being compromised or impacted by an outsider. And it's totally its own thing. So I like, Ricky's point where he goes, some things are good for one and some are for the other. I only go to the theater with hanging out with my girl, but I also really do like a movie at home, depending on what it is and at my comfort. And I think that's the point I want to land on. And I could see Doug, but what I can't resonate with is why you need to then impact. You need the market to go one way. You want to suffocate how other people are enjoying the market.
I don't want to
suffocate. You can get it quicker at home. And that I can't resonate with, because I have at least enough appreciation of the theater that I'd like to see both markets thrive so that I can enjoy it. And if that means the better movies, I have to wait a little bit longer before the comfort of seeing it at my home, well, then either I want to see it enough to get off my ass and go see it in a theater, or it isn't important enough and the extra 6 months, it can wait. I don't know. What are your rapping thoughts?
So I think as we're talking through some of this, I'm not 100% sure if Hollywood really knows what the general audience wants anymore. I think they get too many data points from social media, from YouTube, from just other sources of other movies, and I think just like trends are today, where they kind of burn out pretty quickly. We're starting to see that with Hollywood as well. They take one trend and go, we better exploit it as fast as we can, or else we're either going to miss this train. Or if we try to zig when everyone else is zagging, it's just not going to work. So I don't know if probably one of the other unique things about this style of media is we don't really know what we want either. We say we want good, we want well written, we want this, but we want well written when it's also tied with this, that, the other. But it's one of those, we don't really know what we want until we want it. I think if you would have came out with Game of Thrones, or if you were to pitch someone Game of Thrones without actually showing them and getting them interested in the characters, you probably want that's Lord of the Rings without all the good stuff. So I think it's one of those, you need to throw yourself out there. Sometimes it works, but a lot of it doesn't. And I think as these trends get a lot smaller, we can't allow it to breathe and really let it. 'Cause I think there's some rom-com is probably a good example. There's a lot of gems and rom-coms, but there's a lot of garbage too. But you have to kind of try and fail, because a lot of these are about the same directors, same teams, and eventually you start getting one or two of them that are like really, really good. These cult classics like westerns. Some of the best westerns didn't come out until the end of the genre, when they started almost inverting expectations and becoming a bit bigger than the sum of its parts. I'm not seeing too many of those that are just it's either just brand new, no one's seen it, and it's gonna be exclusive unto itself, or we have to attach it to some other type of IP, or else people won't see it.
I could really appreciate that. Let's bring in Ricky for our rapping thoughts. Ricky, what are your thoughts here?
I hope one of these theaters go out of business and be like, yo, rethink tank. We need to sell you this, and we all put our money together, get that place, make the awesome, amazing studio. That's just dreams are aspirational. You know what I mean?
You want us to turn the movie theater into a Rethink Tank studio, or a theater run by us?
No, a studio, by a Rethink Tank studio. We just want
a warehouse. We'll get our own place for a studio. We don't need the theater industry.
I know, but I'm just saying, maybe it's cheap on the dollar, bro. We all chip in and get it. I'll just because it's going. The topic is they're going out of business. I'm wishful thinking.
Another Day TV is in theater 2. Rethink Actions is in theater 3. Sound Destroyers in theater 4. Doug's got his own little pay room with its own bathroom, so he never has to leave. It's just in theater 5.
And we don't hear a clink clink of all the food that he's eating.
Yeah, no food. No food in our theater.
Holy. But man, rapping thoughts is like, it doesn't need to be that much theater because the audience ain't there. But theater still needs to be there for the experience. And with technology, theaters are just going to get better. Hopefully for Doug, they cut out the food part with the fine dining. So theater needs to be there. But I also what Doug said, it's also great, man. We can just pause the movie, man, and take your eyes off the screen for a second and do something and get back to it without missing a beat. There's also a joy to that.
Facts. All right, Silent, let's get your rapping thoughts. What are you thinking, my friend?
I think the only thing that theaters have currently is the acoustics and the Dolby Vision and the big screen. But other than that, they're going to have to come up with some better incentives to get people back into the theater, because clearly the product that's being put into the theaters is just not up to par compared to what you can get for free on YouTube or on any other social media. And as we discussed before, our brains are fried from quick dopamine because of social media. And I think the theaters and the directors and the movie studios need to adjust and pivot to that, because the market is speaking loudly right now by boycotting all of these sequels and prequels and all of these remakes and all that stuff. And so it is up to them to listen to the market and adjust, or just die basically and be put out of business. It's really that simple.
Right. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Doug's going to give us his wrapping thought. And of course, I appreciated your point about Catherine Kennedy. She's out here saying, the male dominated evil Star Wars audience just doesn't get it. But in reality, maybe that's the audience because that's what the content appealed to. And now you're changing the content and the audience is still there, not liking it. I don't know. Doug, what are your rapping thoughts?
I think Kathleen Kennedy's doing a bad job when once again everyone's saying please bring back George Lucas, and there's like a little bit more articles going around than usual. Is like George Lucas might be coming back. He's been talking shit about.
Really?
There's more out there than I was seeing before. Like obviously every once in a while people are like we need to bring him back, but that was usually with the sequel movies. Like now people are like saying like he might get involved like with maybe like an advisory role because they've done so poorly, but I blame Kathleen Kennedy.
What's interesting is I wanted to have 2 clips for us because of copyright questions, I didn't want to risk it. There is this montage of the female actors from the Acolytes talking about, they get asked the question, would you choose the light side or the dark side? And they all are like, oh, I choose the dark side. Oh my God, I just buffed heads and taken over. I'm picking the dark side. And then it keeps cutting all these different ones. I like dark side because that's blah, 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 blah. And they're just going on. And then it cuts to George Lucas. And it's him at like a table read or like a writing brainstorm. And he's explaining in depth. Go to YouTube, you could find him. I mean, it's a great video of the significance of what the dark side is and what the light side is. He's like, the dark side, it's instant gratification. It's easy, it's quick, and it's the most enticing. And you want to collect the most of it, but it's never truly satisfying. And it breeds a type of hate and jealousy and all these negative attributes. And it breeds this in you and how it's this calculated balance against putting people first, and where you may not actually be feeling good. The good you feel is in the lack of pain you feel in supporting the others around you. And you aren't feeling that pain because you get lost in the support of others. And that's where you find true happiness. And yes, it takes longer to find and it's a more difficult thing to breed, but it's an important thing to want to manifest and work for because it's balance against it's yin to the yang is one, a necessary balance in this universe, but there is a right answer. And it goes to show the depth of thought and calculation that used to be.
It was his baby.
Totally lost.
It was his baby, and now they're just mass producing shit.
But not even that. It's not that this guy cared about it and therefore it was good. Like, look at what's the guy that wrote Game of Thrones?
George
The
R. R.
wise-
Martin.
Okay, so George R.R. Martin creates one of the most in-depth, complicated, most enticing stories that have resonated with billions across the world. The second the man, you would say, who cared about it, I would say actually putting calculated thought. They got, oh God, this George is just taking too long again to make another book. And he goes, yeah, because I just can't do this overnight. It actually is a complicated equation.
But he still hasn't released it.
Good call, Doug. That's exactly what I'm getting at. And the truth is, when you force feed, just quickly bake the cake because you want it artificial and fast, the whole world hates it. The whole world goes, that is the worst season in television. Yeah. And you went from having one of the greatest shows ever to clearly we can point out the moment the calculated writer left. Just like George Lucas, we can point at the exact moment the calculated writer left. You say it's because he cared. But actually, I say because he cared, you were left with a product that was purposeful and calculated. So I don't know. I'll give you. I just wanted to make that point.
Yeah, Lucas. But like the sad part is, Lucas had the sequels like kind of written. He had the whole scope of it all planned out. He just didn't want to make it anymore. Like he was done with that. He was barely involved with some of the other stuff, anyways. You know.
Right.
So like, but he had them written. They decided to just completely go off his planned thing, and then we got what we got with Kathleen Kennedy. But you mentioned like worst series or something. Dexter was a great series, but its finale was like, I think, the worst finale I'd ever seen.
Yeah,
right.
it's pretty
And so
bad.
again, can we agree? What were you gonna say, Brian?
Yeah. Dexter was pretty terrible ending, but phenomenal. At least for like 4 seasons or 5
Yeah,
seasons
a
out
little
of
bad at the end.
the 7. But yeah, the ending was just like, really? That's what we're doing here?
Yeah.
But so let's agree. You can have a really great race. You're running a race, and it's really great. But if you slip up any step, but even most importantly, the last step, you could throw away an entirely great series. I could tell you there's a lot of people that are not in the biggest of hurries to go back and rewatch Dexter.
Right.
Not because it wasn't good. I loved it.
Oh, I
up
loved it.
until the end. But guess what? I could point out to you tons of people in my inner circle that have watched Breaking Bad over and over and over again.
Same with Sons of Anarchy.
Well,
Watched that plenty of times.
But again, you're looking at series. Part of the art, like this is, I want to make an analogy to music. And this resonates with everybody differently. But one of the albums that will forever be a favorite of mine, and I recently listened to it for the first time in a little while, Acid Rap by Chance the Rapper.
that's a good
What
one.
to me makes that an incredible album is that I can just hit play and go for a ride. And there's never, here's where you've got a great artist, you've got a great band, somebody I'd go see in a concert, but not an incredible album. And it's if I could go through it and there's a couple songs I got to skip for the experience. And listen, I've been hyping up the new 21 Pilots album like it's something fierce, but there's still a couple songs in there that most of the time, not every time, but most of the time, a lot of times I'm going to skip because there's just a better one I'm waiting for. Acid Rap isn't one of those. It's one of those that from the start to the finish has me captivated. And I say that because something like Breaking Bad, something that Sons of Anarchy, something that is a hard accomplishment, but is a sentiment or testament to a really great series, is that start to finish, there's no slip up. It's a perfect package. They present it perfectly and they tie it in a bow perfectly. I was Doug. Do you have any other wrapping thoughts before we toss it to
That
Brian?
was it. Nope.
All right, Brian, wrapping thoughts.
Going back to the original, losing interest in movie theater or do movies just suck? I think it's a little of both. I mean, COVID really put a damper in my affinity to go to a theater and for watching movies in general. I mean, I found a bunch of things that I find entertaining that aren't in movies where I have to sit there for over an hour and a half.
Give an example.
Any podcast that I listen
Sure,
to,
yeah.
or just a TV series that I like these actors and they're all there and I can kind of have a good stopping point after 25, 40 minutes, whatever it is. And I don't have to kind of follow it for that whole duration. It's just kind of like short wired me. So that's kind of where I'm at. I think they both ended up sucking after COVID ruined us.
It is true. Were you about to say?
The hot take of them all.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so things are cooking up, heating up here for the Olympics,
Speaking of
and
hot
we're
takes.
getting ready to ship all of our greatest athletes to Paris to compete here in the 2024 Olympics. And one of the more unique aspects to the upcoming Olympics is the story concerning the poisonous river that they intend to have the Olympians race in. Brian, if you could first, so we have here Zoe in Paris, the content creator that put together these videos. She honestly, these are 2 viral videos that just explain the situation better than I could. So let's take
Protest in Paris is happening tomorrow, and this is what the Seine looks like today. The government has spent over €1 billion trying to clean the Seine before the Paris Summer Olympics that start in 1 month, and it's not working. So Parisians have set up a website telling everyone to go poop in the Seine tomorrow on June 23rd, which is when President Emmanuel Macron and Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo both said they'd go swim to prove it's clean. The website even has a calculator so that people who live far from Paris can know when they need to poop in the river for it to flow down to Paris at noon tomorrow. But oh my god, dude!
You don't have
Without the poop, the Seine looks awful. It's even more green in person, and I saw people dumping garbage into it. Apparently, they've done multiple tests, and the level of bacteria in the Seine is 3 times higher than other open water swimming events allow. However, the Olympic Committee says there's no reason to doubt the swimming events for the Olympics won't take place in the Seine this summer, and they're confident the swimmers will be able to use it. So, I don't know. Did you swim in it?
I don't know, but let's get the update. Let's go to part 2 here real quick.
Paris poop protest update from the Seine. It's June 23rd, so it's protest day, and this is what the Seine looks like. The Paris Olympics start in 1 month, and the Seine is supposed to be swimmable for the water events, but after spending over €1 billion, it is still full of bacteria and sewage. The French are obviously very upset that their money has gone to waste, and nobody in Paris wants the Olympics to happen here because it's super disruptive to everyday life and has cost too much money. The president, Emmanuel Macron, and the Paris mayor, Anne Hidalgo, said they'd swim in the Seine to prove it's clean on June 23rd, which is today. And so in the true French protest way, citizens decided to poop in the Seine to show their anger and contaminate the supposedly clean water. They had a website and a hashtag dedicated to it. Was it probably a joke? Yes. But did some people do it? Maybe. But today is June 23rd and the Seine is not ready at all. The swim has been postponed to the week of July 15th. I don't know if anyone pooped in it today. I didn't wait around to watch, but as you can see, they've already built stands for people to watch the opening ceremony and the swimming events in the river, so they seem confident. It's been illegal to swim in the Seine since 1923, so I'm not convinced, but stay tuned for Olympics updates this summer from me while living in Paris.
1923. This thing has been closed off for over 100 years. Wow. And it's because they decided, all right, we're going to reroute our sewage into the public river here, dump our Paris poop here, and we're going to, for the safety of the humans, prevent people from going in it. And then they're like, we're going to give you $1 billion athletic event. Yeah. We'll just let them swim in it. We're dumping chemicals in it to make it swimmable again. And then the people are like, oh, yeah, put your money where your mouth is. We want to see you swim in it. And they're like, yeah, we're going to do that. And then the people are like, oh, you want to hear what we think of you? We're all going to. They literally had a website to where you punch in your location and it says to poop at this exact time so that your poop makes it into the river. So when the president goes to swim, all of us are there at the same time. That's wild. And so is it because of this website and the event and the I don't know, the attention it's drummed up is why they postponed it? Or is that they postponed it because it's still not swimmable? And the question is, will it be swimmable in time for our great athletes to not get, genital worms? You look like you're itching to say something.
I do have something to say. So, Paris's big thing for this Olympics is they're going to be all eco-friendly. They build dorms for the athletes with no air conditioning, but countries are going to be bringing their own air conditioning because they said, nah, we want our athletes to be comfortable. And all the food is going to be a certain type of food. They're doing all this work to make it eco-friendly, yet their river is the least eco-friendly river. They have shit getting into the river, literally. How is that eco-friendly? I don't get it.
It's not just regular shit, human shit.
Yeah,
the worst one.
The worst.
Not
kind.
just shit.
No one knows how to protest quite like the French do. There really is an art to the way
no one knows
protest.
how to surrender like the French either.
It's a lot of shit. They take a lot of shit. They give a lot of shit. It goes hand in hand. But there's so much corruption within both the World Cup and the Olympics committees. Whereas we want Paris. I think they just saw the Eiffel Tower. And that's it. It's we want every shot of the Olympics to have the Eiffel Tower in there. I'm sure that river is not too far away from the Eiffel Tower. So TV is driving this boat quite a bit. Obviously, they had Olympics, probably in Dubai or something, and they have indoor pools. There's all sorts of places you can swim, you can do things. You don't necessarily always have to have it right in the center of your, when they did surfing during the Olympics too, they have it halfway across the world with those actual waves. So there is an ability for athletes to be able to do these things instead of having it. They're just so short-sighted. They need it right there, right in Paris. And, the people in Paris, I don't blame them. I'm sure this is going to be just a mess to deal with in traffic and what have you for a while. Tourism, the French aren't really big on tourists to begin with, so this is just one extra thing they got to deal with.
Especially Americans, they don't like us.
Now, what the funny thing? Have you seen the Come and Take It like the come and take it flag for like guns, and they have it for air conditioning units.
Well, I didn't see it on the. What I did see is the Hawk Tua video. Did anybody see that one?
Oh,
No, never seen it.
wonder what you're talking about.
It's funny you bring the air conditionings up because it's an important piece that Doug kind of glossed over, and it's this overemphasis of making an eco-friendly Olympics that they've just pretty much reneged on everything. Every aspect of which they tried to make it eco-friendly, it made it either less comfortable or I guess promotive to the athletes,
hypocritical, really.
or it was most of it wasn't hypocritical. It was just making it tougher living conditions and not promotive to like the athletic to the athlete. And so because of there being so much invested in these countries' success, the countries then invest in ways of circumventing that. Well, I'm not going to have my athletes suffering and sweating all night. So I'm just going to be paying extra now to have a even less eco-friendly. Like, do we think, I don't know, Brazil is sending the highest quality ACs for their athletes? Or is it safe to say that it may be a less eco-friendly one than if the system, the industry itself bought mass
Energy Star AC
20,000
units,
for
you know?
everybody? Right, exactly. For every athlete. There were some pretty weird sports that were added to the Olympics this year. One of them so of course we all know skateboarding.
Yeah.
But I think there was like a video game one. Something was really
flag
goofy.
football. Is it this year or is it the next?
my
They're
Summer
having flag
Olympics?
football as an Olympic sport.
Yeah, I don't know if it's this
How
year
come
or
golf
the.
is golf part of the Olympics? Wasn't it? Didn't it used to be?
No,
I don't
golf
think
is
so.
not.
Golf
think
should be
golf's
part of
for-
the Olympics before freaking flag
I
football.
agree with that.
Real football should be in the Olympics. Then I'd love to see America kick all the rest of the
It
country.
would just be like the NBA, or it'd just be like basketball in the Summer Olympics. Well, here's the United States going to just run roughshod over everybody. I think they have.
That's it. No, wait,
Oh,
hold
well,
on. Brian, put
which one
yourself
was
on
it?
the screen. All right, so I don't know what breaking is. But of the 5 new sports that are added to the Olympics, it's breaking, or that is surfing, skateboarding,
Yes.
and
Climbing?
sport climbing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Is
it's the best.
breaking when you're
that makes
could-
me
I
happy.
could
I
see
love the
sports
silent
climbing.
yeah. That goes to show how much hype there really is behind climbing. Let me bring in our French analysis, Ricky. Can you give us a little perspective here?
We about fashion. We don't like sports. Americans do. But no, for real though. The French thing, like I feel like the government should start like letting the citizens vote if they want the Olympics to bid on the Olympics pre-hand. If they want their country or city to bid on the Olympics pre-hand, I feel like that should start going next because the Olympics is gonna draw a lot of attention to your city, your country, a lot of revenue. But if the people can't see that and don't want that, the government, it should be for the people. So let them decide ahead of time if y'all should bid for the Olympics. If not, y'all skip this 4 years and hopefully y'all make a better argument why we should host the Olympics. Other than that, like keep throwing shit and that sewer is not going to be ready in time. I don't think so. There's a lot of bacteria in there, bro. You said from 1923? Bro, wasn't the Spanish flu just ended or something around there, bro? Like World War II, dead bodies on bodies. Come on, bro.
Yeah.
No, let's just, like, come on.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Ironically.
Yeah.
And let's proceed a little bit here because I want to get Silent Destroyer's thoughts before adding another dynamic to everybody.
Uh-oh.
And then we can wrap it up. So, Silent, what are your thoughts?
The French are dreaming if they think it'll cost $1 billion to clean that river up. It's going to cost way more. And for that money, they can literally invest into top tier Olympic level swimming facilities that after the Olympics are done, people can probably actually swim in and take swimming lessons in, or make it a recreational pool or something. And they would probably be way better off doing that than trying to clean a river that has been dirty since the 1920s, you know?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, for such a strong point like that, I mean, they'll go and build an entire ski village in China that's overgrown and dead now, doesn't even operate. But heaven forbid you make like a rec center swimming pool for the community, or that benefits the community. While, again, I don't hate hey, France, back to your Paris Accord, because y'all are a bunch of dummies. If this is what it takes to get you to, I don't know, fix your shit, literally and figuratively, like if this is what you need to do to motivate yourself to stop being a bunch of swines rolling in your own dookie duke, then I guess that's what we got to do. This is kind of like you're a child, and if I need to have a cookie to get you to clean your room, then fine. Here's the Olympics. Clean your flipping room if you're going to claim to be, you know, the beacon of what's right. But Silent, you're the most right. And I want to get your kind of final thought on that. It's like, there's no world this is an affordable, easy endeavor. You can't pour poop in a river for 100 years and be like, this is a quick fix.
Yeah.
Who's going to reroute it somewhere? Like, what, you got a big hole? Like, where's this going? Well, the other river. And then, like, it's just not Paris. It's not Paris. It's just like, you know, Paris too. The people that, it's like, you know, the Columbus of France. They're like, yeah, we just rerouted the poop to them. They got to figure it out.
Yeah, and that's what it is. At the end of the day, I think all of this is just a marketing stunt. It's just to get headlines. The mayor and the president are probably just saying they're going to clean this river just to get attention towards it, and I don't think it's going to happen. I don't see it happening.
I say the people of France should protest the Olympics up until their Nancy Pelosi, their politicians, get in that river. You say you don't swim, I'm not letting you put on the show, the song and dance for the world, until you get to put your money where your mouth is. Put your dookie where your mouth is.
Facts. Jump in that river that hasn't been cleaned since the 1920s.
Exactly. All right, Doug, what are your thoughts? You seem to have
my rapping thought here is
not a rapping thought. Just what are your thoughts?
Well, my thought here is that breaking is breakdancing, and I can't believe that is an Olympic sport.
Is that what breaking is?
Breakdancing?
That is what I found when I gave it a look.
Oh, wow.
Breakdancing.
Breakdancing has been added to the Olympics.
How do you score that?
I want to see some like Icelandians just breaking it down. Spinning on their head.
I also feel like how hard would it, like they spent all this money trying to clean up a shit-filled river that's been like that since 1923, they said. You're telling me there isn't a pool facility around there that was in disrepair that when they found out like 8 years ago they were hosting the Olympics, they could have had renovated and ready to go. They had to choose a river that hasn't been swam in since 1923. Like, come on. What person thinks that's a logical idea?
It's literally a running river. It's not even a pool. Like it's a very different sport at that point too. Like the competition's totally different. That's a great point. Okay. One piece I want to throw into the dialogue, and with the wrapping thought, I want to get your impression on this, but then you can just kind of close the topic as a whole. So I had a whole weekend of golf, and a buddy came into town, and we were driving 40 minutes to this golf course, and I really just didn't want to open the door to conversation. So I threw on a podcast. It was too early. Just shutting the people up. Throwing a podcast. So I see this thing, it's Joe Rogan. A lot of the people there weren't intriguing me, of the ones that I hadn't heard yet. I was like, oh, whatever. And there's this thing that said the guest is Enhanced Games. And I'm like,
I've heard of that.
What is this? Who is this? So I click it. And it's these two people. One's a doctor and the other one's, an athletic specialist. And the two of them are creating a global Olympic Games of sorts that is a totally different brand. And what we fail to recognize is the monopoly that is the organization, the Olympics. We think it's not like this is kind of a collection of governments and it's kind of got the ability to be impacted by the will of these different countries. It's its own autonomous corporation run by, a couple hundred super elites across the world that dictate and make these decisions. And so there's like, a certain another sport that they're bringing to, Enhanced Games wants to add the UFC or add mixed martial arts. And in the conversation, they talked about how like there is a drug that's illegal in the Olympics and in the UFC because of the, Games Commission. And it's a drug that doesn't enhance your strength or any of your powers. It's actually a recovery drug, and it allows tissue and fighters to recover ultra fast. And apparently the problem with that is that they justify outlawing it is fighters and athletes tend to go compete more and sooner than they otherwise would, and they find that it might be too dangerous. But they wouldn't be able to compete if they weren't at the state to do so. So, I mean, it's kind of a void point if the drug gets you to a state to compete. It's not like it's overstraining you because you're not ready yet. You're ready yet. That's the point of why you're competing. Anyway, the cool thing about the Enhanced Games is something like that, or, metabolic steroids, all things legal. And at first you got a knee-jerk reaction, like, you don't want to encourage that, whatever. But is that not the point of this? Like, what is shot put but seeing who can throw a heavy ball the farthest? And so, like, if you truly want to see the maximum, the ceiling to human potential, these arbitrary lines made by who? Elites that we have no input or influence on. Like, why would we leave it to their hands? And then the other, I think, heaviest point that they advocate with is when you interview these athletes, they admit 45% of them admit anonymously that they do use illegal performance enhancing drugs. Okay. Those are the people admitting it. So that there's more than that of those that do illegally already do this. And so, one, wouldn't you want to have this in a safer environment, monitored by experts that are monitored? Like, you're not lying to the experts and the doctors about what's truly in your system. They can gauge why your blood pressure is higher than it actually should be. You're getting the proper amounts for your body type. You're not getting it from a dealer that could have it contaminated or manipulated with. And at the end of the day, how could you claim to be the pinnacle of athleticism when there's things that could enhance that? And then again, you're competing in an event where, you may still win, but some of those people are using those performance enhancing drugs, and you may lose to them. And it may be because they use that drug, and there won't be any accountability. And it's not that you can have a perfectly clean life and still you can abstain from all of that and still participate in the Enhanced Games. And what a beautiful way to sell the public on no need of steroids if you can go and beat all the people with syringes in their butt. And I did nothing. I did totally clean, and I'm a superhuman. But we all know that to be, I don't know, probably not logical. So I'm going to flip it to you guys. I'll do my wrapping thought first, but I want to get your thoughts on one, the Enhanced Games, maybe having a different global games that competes with the market against the Olympics. And then what are your thoughts on allowing athletes to use substances that are not arbitrarily banned?
I don't know if it really sounds all that interesting to me, because it part of it's just still the sport of competition. That's exciting. The Olympics, seeing different countries, the best of this person's country going against the other person's country in these various events. I don't know if I'd be all that interested in, I think it's fun to think about the what is the true human potential given no limits. you're essentially you're still just competing in the same games. You're still doing this the same. Let's just assume it's the same TV product, and that's part of what makes the Olympics so interesting is the country versus country aspect of it. Same as like the World Cup. There's kind of a national pride to it where it's almost kind of like motorsport racing when you just let's say you just build your own car and this guy's car, Billy's car is faster than Jerry's car. Okay, yeah, it's a little bit exciting. I'm sure you can probably get some personalities around of it, but I don't know if it would be the same type of cultural impact as it would be the Olympics. I think it'd just be a nice little, I guess that is how much I can lift and do whatever if I did steroids. Now, it'd be probably a little more interesting if you did just regular Olympian athletes versus, all right, regular Joes, you're going to train, but you get steroids. How much better is like an actual, like a professional athlete versus someone who, all right, we'll just inject you up into your max potential and see how close can you get to the real athlete. That might be the better, but that's like a season of television, really. I don't know if that's not an every 4-year kind of event where we really need to hype it up for it.
Do you want to wrap your thoughts up?
So on the Olympics in general, God, it's just so much corruption. I think that's kind of the worst part, and a little bit of that, a little hyperbole with the river and going around. And it'd be more environmentally friendly for the French, just not having an Olympics. Just do what every other Western country does. Throw your garbage into a third world country and let them host it.
Hot take.
That's I mean a lot of these events have been in like Brazil, Johannesburg, not major countries in the world. Only recently we started getting back to that. I think part of it's just the exploitation of these third world countries, and the other part of it is like, let me get. There's like more corruption within some of these bigger cities, but I still don't actually know when the Olympics start. That's another hot take of mine. I hear about it. Like, is there like a start date? Is there a?
I think it's July,
like end of July.
End of July. It just starts. That they never do a good job at like they tell you, summer. Yeah. All right, summer. But like when in summer? Because right now summer.
They should always start on 4th of July, and we'd always know.
I agree with that.
July 26th to August 11th.
They should just
I'm not the biggest watcher of the Olympics in the world.
They should just start July 1st, and then it's a set date. Everyone knows. They're playing all of July.
Doug, you and I think should be TV executives. I think we got this. We got this wrapped up here.
How do you make all your money off the Olympics? The TV contracts. They have all the say.
Oh, that's right. That's why they're swimming in a shit river, so they can get the nice little picture of the Eiffel Tower right on the background. Mark my words. And if it's not right, no one's going to call me out. I dare you, someone in the comments, to call me out.
Don't worry, I'll remember, David.
July 27th.
All right, let's take it to the peanut gallery. Ricky, first, give me your thoughts on the enhanced games, and then I want to hear your rap.
Man, I love America. But the world don't revolve around America. July 4th is America. Okay? That's just a little part of the audience, and not, as you said, David and Doug, y'all don't watch the Olympics like that. It's only a selected few in America watching it, but the rest of the world, little countries and everybody else focus on it. Like, their whole nation is on it, and that's what brings a lot of views to the Olympics. Not a majority. I really don't feel like it's a majority of Americans. But to the bigger game, the Olympics committee, I'm pretty sure, is corrupt, but ain't some salacious shit that came out, but it hasn't been nothing big to where I personally would say, we need to change everything, we need to do this and that. I love it, especially as a Jamaican where we shine in track and field. I love it. I love the Olympics every 4 years when it pops around. I'm here for it. I even watched the Winter Olympics. Shout out to B Smalls, because winter sports is my dog game, and we do that. You know what I mean? Type shit. But I'll fuck with Olympics. I'm heavy on Olympics. Basketball, especially football too. World Cup, bro. Come on now. The Olympics, when your country as a football, the world nation, world love football. Just Americans don't.
I can
Soccer.
appreciate
Sorry, soccer.
All
But
right,
yeah, so
first-
that's it. That's it.
and any thoughts on the enhanced games?
Oh, we should focus on the NBA. I'm about to fuck up my GOAT right now, but LeBron. My dog been on PEDs, bro. You can't tell me my dog been going this long.
Exactly.
It hasn't been
That's what I'm
fucking
saying.
like they
And
like the
Ricky-
NBA focus on selective players. They don't want, but like if Tristan Thompson, a non-player, do something out of the ordinary, they're gonna be like, come on, now. We're gonna show some integrity here. But come on, LeBron, like
and
really
Ricky,
miss the
can we
game.
agree? Can we agree? Baseball was so much more entertaining when
With
they got
steroids.
baseball roided again. That was so
Shoot
much
'em up.
more fun. The Mark McGuire, Barry Bonds. I-
Great, amazing,
Yeah,
great.
I mean,
one of the best
watching every
documentaries ever
day.
too.
Every day to see if he hits that home run to break the record. Every day waiting for
but
Barry
dude,
Bonds.
even it was
So-
all aspects of the game. Roger Clemens came on swollen, just like he had pillows under his shirt, and then would just. It's
So
like,
did you guys watch the
dude,
30 for
hits
30?
like shooting out of a cannon. What were you saying?
Did y'all
Rick?
watch the 30 for 30 with the Barry Bonds in the race for the home run? One of the best 30 for 30 there is. Like that, and I didn't know anything about it, I didn't live through that experience. But that 30 for 30 was great. Like, bring steroids back in baseball and stick 'em. Let's see what these guys. Baseball's already boring. Like, let's see what these guys can do with a little shotty shot and a stick 'em. You know what I mean? Like I would love it. I would love it more. I feel like there would be a lot more action.
And baseball has been experiencing this weird dynamic, right? Like the room chuckles when Ricky makes the comment about how baseball is boring. Well, to traditionalists and people that love baseball, it isn't necessarily boring. Maybe it's because you played it, you enjoy a different dynamic of it.
Yeah.
But to the casual viewer, it is boring. They say it's too long. We had to put giant nets up because everybody's distracted by their phone and they're getting hit by balls. We had to evolve the game. But admittedly, you're telling us it got boring. And so you had to make it less boring again. Justin Verlander, as the Astros were winning their trash can asterisks World Series, that season, Justin Verlander was in an interview talking about how, so again, you outlawed steroids. The pool of players got weaker. They're not as strong. They're not as entertaining. Less home runs, less no-hitting game, like no hitters being pitched by the pitchers. It's just not as extreme. So it's less interesting to the casual viewer. Now you need to make it more interesting. Justin Verlander goes in an interview and he goes, they have definitely changed the ball. He goes, the ball is faster than it's ever been. I am older and weaker than I've ever been. I'm at the end of my career, and for some reason, I'm throwing harder now than I've ever thrown. They've done something to the ball. They've done something to the ball to increase home runs, to increase the distance of home runs. Well, okay, if you have to artificially make the sport entertaining because we want extreme, we want the most of human capacity. Well, you've changed the syringe in the butt cheek to hyper engineering the baseball. The effect is the same thing. We want to maximize the human potential in experiencing this athletic game. And you've just changed it from strengthening the individual to making the tools they use more effective and stronger. So admittedly, this is the result we need. You're just going about it a less effective and less intrusive way. And you say it's under the guise of safety, but truthfully, I know your game. Your game is pump us full of artificial cheeseburgers and you want us to have all your vaccines and juices. And so if the game is make us dumb, fat, and stupid, the last thing we want is to encourage people to get extra roided out. Because maybe when we piss them off enough and they stand up against us, we don't want them to be able to outrun us. Like we don't want, like they don't want you to be able to be effective. And I think this is a piece of that. They have to sell us on it being unsafe. They have to convince us an Aaron Judge's heart will pop because then you won't use it. But explain to me why Mark McGuire, one, isn't dead, but is still stronger than your dad. Maybe.
And there's better drugs nowadays as well.
Boom.
I'm
Healthier,
saying,
cleaner drugs
there's
now.
better drugs nowadays. But I watch baseball is not boring, but there's too much baseball. That's why I say
No, he's on to something.
Dude, bro,
there's
no.
too much freaking baseball.
No. Ricky, I love you, but you got to keep it at the basketball games. Keep
Look,
between
bro,
every break a dance off or, cheerleaders throwing around or a guy stacking chairs like a magician. Keep that shit for the basketball game. I'm there for the traditional content of the sport itself. The
I
strategy.
adopted the traditionalist concept of baseball, but there's too many games in the season of baseball for me as a fan to focus on.
Is the
To focus on, but
ever.
I love playoff baseball. Is intense. I love October baseball. Like that. That is me. I watch it consistently because it's not that much games, but there is so many more games. Like I can't. You know what I mean? I can't do it. I can't do it. And
but you see, Ricky, at the same time, I like the too many games because I could miss half of them and just check my phone that day and be like, oh, cool, we won. Oh, bummer, we lost. And it really doesn't kill me. It doesn't break me. But what I really do enjoy is, like, it helped a lot in law school. But you catch yourself on an afternoon, you're like, oh, shit, it's 6 o'clock. The Indians are on. And then you throw on the game and it's background noise while you're making dinner or whatever you're doing. And I actually kind of like it. When the summer hits, there's like an omnipresence where like baseball's just kind of always there. I'm never always watching it. I just kind of tap in, I tap out, and no harm, no foul. That's kind of the same as the Olympics. I love the Olympics that season because I really don't care about the event. It could be skeet shooting, it could be, ice skating, whatever. Like you're just like, oh crap, it's 11 and whatever, let's see what's on. And you're like, all right, guess I'm watching break dancing today.
Alex, my brother, you know what's also on during the summer you should watch? You should watch the WNBAs. They're on, bro. Come on now.
They are
Support
on.
your ladies. Support your ladies, bro.
First in line.
Come on,
always. Big WNBA ally right here, brother. All right. We got to get Doug's thoughts on the enhanced games. And then, Doug, if you could wrap your thoughts for us as well.
I think the enhanced games would be pretty interesting, especially your idea of like an enhanced athlete against an Olympic athlete. That would definitely be entertaining for like a season or two, kind of like American Gladiator or something. But as a Clevelander, I have to bring this up, Josh Gordon, like, because your original prompt was like enhanced games, drugs that aren't allowed. Well, Josh Gordon, we all know, great athlete when he was on the field, got suspended for like smoking weed in the NFL and then kept getting suspended because he kept having like weed in his system.
Spiral.
Yeah.
It just kind of spiraled out of control.
And
for
I
him.
wouldn't even consider weed a performance enhancing drug.
No.
Like it doesn't actually do anything to enhance your athletic ability. So I always thought that was dumb. And so that's why I kind of think the enhanced league is interesting. And then the Cleveland side of where we got effed for a couple of years, losing our like star athlete because of all that.
I think we had a lot more problems than just not having Josh.
We
Gordon
absolutely
on the field.
did. But still, like now the NFL came to the right mind of going, oh, you know what? This is definitely not a performance enhancing drug. We won't test for it anymore. But we had the best wide receiver at the time, I would argue, when he was on the field. Never on the field because of that. So that's why I think it'd be pretty cool to see that. Let's see the drugs versus the no drugs. Let's see how it goes.
Well, and again, if David's point holds any water, then you should be able to have an enhanced games and the regular people outsoar the enhanced people. But the truth is, like Ricky's saying, the science has changed. Like it isn't as like rudimentary as it used to be. Just syringes full of human cells, and like how about, as Ricky indicated, bringing up LeBron? There's always a workaround. Like we're always going to be looking for the thing that levels us up. And if you're not going to let me put in clean, natural human cells. Well, then I'm going to use deer antler spray that densifies my bones and everything. And it's like, dude, that was totally legal. That's totally what all the people were doing to circumvent the lines that were put up. And it wasn't until after discovering it and then kind of learning about it for like 2 seasons that they're like, okay, deer antler spray is illegal now too. And it's like, okay, well, too late. LeBron and his kid are already doing deer antler spray. And it's like, there's always going to be a workaround, but like, do you really want people experimenting with, I don't know, deer antler spray? Like maybe we just let doctors and experts monitor these things, go with what's safe, because again, I want to look at the arbitrary deciders, the, omniscient leaders of the Olympics and go, why? Why weed? Why no? How about this?
What about Michael Phelps getting suspended too?
Truthfully, I have a prescription for my ADD for Adderall. I never use it anymore because I'm not in school, and I really just needed it for college and law school. I would never call that a performance-enhancing drug, but I could also see it benefiting sports that have tight articulation of your body. And who's that young gymnast that's just been dominating?
Simone
Biles. Okay, Simone struggled at the last Olympics. She wasn't able to compete like the first couple days in the gymnastics because she had Adderall in her system, and she had a prescription Adderall. So it's not like she isn't allowed to use this. It's not like it's illegal. And that's something that kept coming up in that Enhanced Games podcast. They had to keep correcting Joe because he would say, well, that's an illegal substance. No. It's not illegal. It's banned. And so you have a totally legal drug that this poor girl gets from her doctor, and then they pull it. She's trained on it. I'm assuming the last Olympics competed on it and never got caught, which is probably why she was so damn good. And then when they pull the rug out from under her, they make her compete the rest of the Olympics without it, and she's falling off the beam. She's struggling. She's getting severe anxiety, and because of that, doesn't fully compete. She removes herself from the end of the Olympics. And so, again, do you really want to drag a Simone Biles through that, or do we want to admit, here's the best at this craft? When she walks on the scene for the first time 2 Olympics ago, the world stops. The whole world goes, oh my God, this is the gymnast of the world. She dominates totally across the board. And you want to say you're even close. I'm going to get to my wrapping thoughts. We'll get to Doug's. You will have the final thought. But I want to address what you said, which is I want to see the best from these athletes. Well, do you mean it when you say that? Because in lieu of that, having an arbitrary force arbitrarily ban whatever they want and don't want, well, now you don't have the best because you lost Simone Biles. And you're not allowing a LeBron James to surface in a healthy, safe capacity. He has to try to find deer antler spray and everything else to try to circumvent it. And maybe his heart pops. Maybe he experiments with the wrong things because he can't just do what's safe because it's banned. Or you have people that will do it, lie about it, starve themselves to such a point where when they get tested, it doesn't show up in a test, but now you've compromised yourself and you might be in an unsafe state just so you pass the test. Whereas like Doug said, you're going to get pissed at weed? This was the greatest receiver in the league, and he just wasn't allowed to play. Why? So this comes back to I look at you, you make the decision. I ask you why. And I got to just sit here and accept because. Well, what are the policy reasons behind an NFL player? Well, they lean on it's federally illegal, and we want to, we don't want to encourage crooked behavior. It's like you may say that, but it comes back to something you dance around, Doug, which it's control. All of this is about control. There really isn't a basis behind steroids, more so as I don't want to give up one of the things I have a chokehold on, a full control over. So one, hey, here's my wrapping thoughts. I'm all for the enhanced games. And the truth is, it should be like how the NFL had to compete against the American Football League. Like if the audience loves both, then we should live in a world where both thrive. But I think you, the Olympics, or you, the industry, are threatened because truthfully, you know deep down in the pit of your loins that the audience, the viewer, is totally going to polarize to the highest level of competition, the more entertaining spectacle. So I addressing get the shit they serve to the rest of the world. Like they're getting their own shit and it's pretty great. One, swim in your own stuff. But two, we see you for what you are. And for once, your people that you've kind of oppressed and kept their voice from being heard, you've built them the biggest stage for them to be heard from. And so it kind of sets a beautiful tone for the rest of us to maybe find some accountability in Paris. So Doug, that all being said, finish your thought and then wrap
my
up.
Olympic wrapping thought, because those were pretty much my enhanced, was like Josh Gordon as an example of the stupidity of all that. But Olympics always cost a lot of money. Wherever you're hosting, it's gonna cost a lot of money to invest and build up everything you need. Building a facility to probably do whatever sports they were going to do in the river would probably have been cheaper and more ecological friendly than pouring a shit ton of chemicals into a river and having people potentially still get sick. They had years to plan for this. I mean, many Olympics build entire villages in the amount of time it could have taken them to do something different than this river. So just poor planning on Paris's part because of the eco-friendly side.
I agree with that.
That's a great
That's
point.
a good point.
Brian, land this plane for us, please.
Well, I think we should get to Silent first.
Did he not give us her?
He did not.
Did you skip silent to me?
I did.
He's too silent today.
I'm very silent. Yeah, but to build on top of what you guys were saying, it's literally so much cheaper to just invest that how many billions it costs to clean that river into just, like I said earlier, having a good facility built for the community so that they can have swimming lessons or have just like a rec swimming pool or something like that, just where all the community can get together and swim. Because we all know once they clean that river, it's probably going to get dirty right after the Olympics are over. So there's absolutely no point in doing that. And you might as well just light a couple billion euros or dollars on fire. There's no point in that.
That's so true. And thank you, Brian, because that would have been a crime to have moved on. So yeah, Brian, wrap this bad boy up for us.
So I'm excited for climbing to be in the Olympics. I think it was in 2021, but I'm not entirely sure on that one. Enhancing, performance enhancing, I think it is very controlled, and I don't like any sort of control. But, like going back to baseball, you guys were talking a lot about baseball. I enjoy how much they have incorporated timed pitches to keep the game just kind of moving, where they're not just like holding the ball for no reason and like pretending they're going to throw it back to the bases. And I don't know, that kind of like ruined the whole baseball experience for me. But as far as like performance enhancing, I think with baseball, I don't think that they should have like the grippies on like their hands, like tar and whatever they used to use. And those kind of performance enhancing, I think that would kind of ruin the game. I don't really have too much else to say. You guys covered it pretty well.
Cool.
All right.
I apologize to the folks in the studio because this topic is dense. This last one we wrap with. We'll keep it as short as we can, but also I think this is we actually found too many fruits in the first two topics because I didn't think they'd be so dense.
Especially at first.
They were very dense.
The movie one's a great one, but this is a biggie. So first, I just want to kick it off because this is a big deal. News headlines: Julian Assange is finally seeing the light of day. And I want to remind the folks at home what makes Julian Assange such a dark threat to the world and the powers that be, and why those folks at home feel so threatened by Julian Assange.
The goal is not to completely subjugate Afghanistan. The goal is to use Afghanistan to wash money out of the tax bases of the United States, out of the tax bases of European countries, through Afghanistan and back into the hands of transnational security. That is the goal, i.e. the goal is to have an endless war, not a successful war.
Perfect.
The goal is not to completely subjugate Afghanistan.
All right. So,
Wait, you're telling me it's not easy to use that mouse, Alex?
not when you're doing, I don't know, multiple hats. But try running a show too. Can you click it to, there you go. So who is Julian Assange? He is an Australian WikiLeaks founder who has been facing a potential 175-year prison sentence in the United States. He grew to prominence in 2010 when WikiLeaks released thousands of classified U.S. military documents, including a 2007 video showing a U.S. helicopter attacking Iraqi civilians. Ironically, I saw this video on Twitter today, and it's pretty freaking gnarly. In the same year, he was arrested in the UK after Sweden issued a warrant over an SA allegation. He denied the claims, and while on bail, he sought asylum in the Ecuadorian embassy in London, where he was confined for the next 7 years. Then, in 2017, despite Sweden dropping the charges, the UK warned he would be arrested for breaching bail if he left the embassy. Ecuador, having had issues with Assange, revoked his asylum, which saw him forcibly removed from the embassy in 2019. He was sent to Belmarsh prison to serve a 50-week sentence, which is located in London, England. This prison is used for high-profile cases, particularly those concerning national security. Meanwhile, the U.S. asked the UK to extradite Assange over espionage and hacking charges. 2 years later, in 2021, a UK judge blocked the extradition, arguing Assange was at risk of suicide. It's almost like we have a habit of that thing. The extradition was later approved on appeal, but Assange's lawyers continued to pursue avenues to block it. Now, breaking news, the WikiLeaks founder has agreed to plead guilty to a felony charge related to his alleged role in one of the largest U.S. government breaches of classified material. And no, we're not talking about the ones hiding in Trump's golf course or in Biden's garage. This being a part of a deal with the Justice Department that will allow him to avoid imprisonment in the United States, according to newly filed court documents. Under the terms of the new agreement, the Justice Department prosecutors will seek a 62-month sentence, which is equal to the amount of time Assange has served in the high-security prison in London while he fought extradition to the United States. The plea deal would credit that time served, allowing Assange to immediately return to Australia, his native country. A federal judge in the Northern Mariana Islands set a plea hearing and sentencing for Wednesday morning, according to the U.S. District Court there. This venue was advocated for by the prosecutors because Assange was resistant to setting foot in the continental U.S. for his guilty plea. The court on the island is near Australia, and Assange is expected to return immediately following. As I quickly jumped to giving the Biden administration their accolades, the National Security Council wanted to make it clear to the American public that this was accomplished with no influence by the president. Quote, "This is an independent decision made by the Department of Justice, and there was no White House intervention," said National Security Council spokesperson Adrian Watson. It is being reported that FBI and Justice Department officials have opposed any deal that didn't include a felony guilty plea by Assange. So with all that being said, I'm curious. I'm going to flip it to the room before I go out on my tangents. And I want to know, David, what are your thoughts?
Well, given so much time's passed, it's actually pretty easy to forget just how big that WikiLeaks leak was. That was a big deal, and I think that was probably
Rightfully so.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's one of the first dominoes that kind of led to the Edward Snowden situation, and then eventually started raveling out. And one of the true conspiracy theorists, or it's not really a theory, it's Provis, or whatever the opposite of the actual theorist is. He really kind of made some headwinds when it came to kind of proving and showing, hey, there's a lot of things in the, and we say the deeper state or within the government that isn't within our purview, they don't want us to see. So for that, absolutely. Now I can see 100% why a country maybe doesn't want a person like that around, because he might get his hands on some information here later, even though at this point, being so long in prison, probably being away from most technologies, I doubt he's got the same connections he did back then when that initial leak came out. And I wonder how much of this, kind of in the middle of your monologue there, was from, because he had the WikiLeaks for the Clinton. Well, no, it was just Hillary Clinton, not the Clinton Foundation,
showing that the Democratic convention stole the nomination from Bernie Sanders and gave it to Hillary Clinton,
like the super delegates and all that, all that garbage. So he was definitely a force to be reckoned with. Anymore, I don't know if he is, but it is. I'm quite surprised he's kind of let go and be able to go back to his home country. He's still probably going to, he's going to serve some. He's not necessarily a free man for the rest of time, but he's at least freer than he has been, which is actually quite a win in our book. And I think, whistleblowers like this really need to be celebrated.
Yes.
There is too many things going on in the back doors outside of transparency within not just our government, every single world government. The more powerful you are, the more corrupt you are on the inside. And these types of people shed just even the smallest amount of light they don't want you to see. Even if most of that WikiLeaks documentation is just kind of boring bureaucratic garbage, there's a lot of good nuggets in there that still showcase that this is not ran by the people. The people are a little more of a dog and pony show than I think a lot of us really even like to admit.
We'd be so aware of that if it wasn't for some of these leaks of the wiki?
Oh, not at all.
Exactly.
I even remember like the Panama Papers too. Of I don't know whoever leaked that, but that was of the same vein. That's more of the elite side of things. But there is, it's really just two people who have radically shaped our view of the inner workings of the government. Yeah. How many? The government's the largest employer in the United States.
That's why they hate them.
Yes. Like, how many more people know some just juicy information? It's like, hey, I got email proof right here. If I just send this, you're gone.
What, juicy. Let's double this. Edward Snowden. Juicy. Is there anything juicier than saying they are illegally tapping into everything you got? Your phones, your computers. At the time, we didn't have smartphones. We didn't have, you had cell phones, but very rudimentary cell phones. But it's like they're tapping into everything because they want to get the people that flew the plane into the building. Yeah, not the controlled demolition, the plane show. And because of that plane show we put on, we're going to use that as justification to illegally tap everything y'all are doing and not even tell you about it. We're just going to do it. And then when a guy tells you about it, he's the enemy. And we're going to keep our sights on him and kill him if we can, if he ever steps out of Russia. You take one false step out of Siberia and you're dead. Why? What'd he do? What'd he do that's so bad? Like, this is such a difficult dynamic, right? Because every conversation around whistleblowers also presents the acknowledgement that an effective state needs to have secrets. Like, it needs to be able to protect itself. But at the point at which those secrets become too strong, like what is that? I don't know. You try to answer. How do you strike that balance?
Well, you don't want to be, showcasing military tactics as you're going through a campaign. That seems, I think most people can probably agree with that. Even if you don't want war, it's like, well, if you're going to have war, at least I want my side to win. But this is just going down to like the mistakes the military made, the, kind of the motivation, some of the more kind of less virtuous things they were doing in the Middle Eastern wars. So those, I think every country has ulterior motives. Like, well, it's going to be easier to do business here. Oh, they have natural resources. We might be able to, this business might be able to take control. There's always going to be some of that. I don't think we're naive enough to say, well, there's no country that really, we're 100% virtuous in that regard. But there is a point when you start becoming so blatant about it, and the propaganda machine starts saying, hey, you remember in 2002, 2003, support our troops. Support our troops.
Weapons of mass destruction. We don't have a single weapon to show you, but
Nope.
they're there.
They're there. The old WMDs, and the propaganda. It wasn't the government coming out with these campaigns. It was the mass media corporations that just basically hook, line, and sinker. Both of them, I think I distinctly remember both of them being very similar in their tone. That we don't like this Julian Assange guy. He could be, I think they during the 2016 election, I think he spun. It's like, well, if they're going against Democrats, he's definitely he's no Republican. He can go after Trump at any time. And then they start, like, you saw both sides just like hate that. And the same thing with like Edward Snowden too. He's now starting to come around. And lexicon like, oh, this guy's actually good. He made a major sacrifice that not a whole lot of people would take for. I don't think he changed a whole lot of things, but did he kind of tipped the first domino that hopefully leads to a lot more transparency in the government?
To me,
Maybe.
what he did is the same, if not even more admirable than the soldier that jumps on a landmine in World War II.
Yeah.
Like, I respect them equally, but like, this guy, he didn't just sacrifice his life because he's alive. He has sacrificed painful imprisonment. Like, yeah, he's not in like true pain. He's not in a jail cell in Russia, but he's totally isolated. He's always looking over his shoulder. He'll never get to actually live a regular life. And again, I don't want to say it because they're listening to us every waking move, but I just don't like the unvoted for government. We'll just put it like that, right? Yeah. Those folks, you know who you are. So as much as I just don't like them, I'm still picking America every time.
Yeah.
Like, if there's a place I'd rather be, it's this one. So to also be like, I have to give that up. My friends, my family, my whole life is uprooted for the sacrifice of the American public knowing how much they have been invaded by their own government.
Yeah, like he showed kind of how bad it got, and in a time where people didn't. It was kind of goofy to think that was the case. They're listening to you. Your phone can barely listen to you. Have you ever tried doing voice to text that time? It was garbage. But there's someone there. There's people's jobs. All they do is try to find more information about just garbage. Right. At some point, there was an FBI agent probably looking up you or me, going, "Is this guy on the internet? How weird is he?"
Trust me, I know I'm on a list. Whatever.
There's some, and that's like, should your government be doing that? I don't think so. Maybe your local police department. Okay, I could at least go, it's fine. It's local. I get that, but national government, you have better things to do. And this is just where we start wasting money and this whole apparatus. I mean, we can go down a conspiracy rabbit hole all day on this.
I got better things to do. Then why put so much of our resources and time into killing an Alex Jones? Right? Like, I know we have to avoid walking down that path at all costs, but if what he's saying is so false and so bad and so untrue, then it really wouldn't be a threat. But its impact holds weight because it's actually having an effect.
When you're seeing similar cases being thrown out there between, the Mr. AJ and and just some other actions people have done that are similar. Several $1 billion seems to be a little ridiculous, like real ridiculous. It's starting to become more of we just want to shut this guy up every single way we can, and it's just weaponized. And I think it's been a bit too political and targeted against him personally.
Yes.
And not, he says some wild garbage, like wild. Just listen to one episode. You're going to get it's a lot of things coming at you. And is he, I think he does himself a lot of disservice by just saying energy vampires. It's interdimensional vampires. That was ones like human animal chimeras. Okay, let's slow down. Let's kind of go on your roots here. That there's a lot of elites that want to do nasty things to people for the sake of control. He's his own worst enemy sometimes. It's weaponized. We're using the government to weaponize against someone who isn't not as much of a threat as there's probably some random person. Yeah, like serial people doing some actual violent crime on
like
the
a
street,
Dexter.
like a Dexter. Yeah, like a Dexter, or the people that Dexter also goes after.
Yeah.
But, they're both bad. Just
They're
bad
all
in different
bad
ways. So again, I think we're in agreement here. These whistleblowers are true heroes.
Yes.
In a certain sense, and need to be. And I think the propaganda machines you need to ignore the propaganda on it and see like why are they going so hard after this guy just leaking a document where 90% of it is just boring
And
garbage.
again, this comes back to the document he released was not untrue. Like, why is that not of importance here?
Yeah.
Like, we didn't want them to know about it. Okay, well, they clearly found advantage in knowing knowledge is power.
Yeah.
And so these people found advantage and fruits in the knowledge that I provided them, which is probably why you dislike the fact that they got it. So let's circle back to, I didn't really do anything bad, like not even morally bad. I didn't do it. You're the villain. You're the perpetrator here. And all I did was make it clear to the rest of the sheep that this sheep is actually a wolf in sheep's clothing. And they are only wanting to eat this sheep, the one of us. He's one of us. They only want to eat him because he's the one telling us where the wolves are. And you guys are going to let them eat this sheep, or so many of you were willing to throw your head in the sand and let it happen simply because it's just easier. It's just, I don't want to know where the wolves are. It's scary. I don't like knowing that there's wolves out there. I'd rather just not know about them. Heaven forbid we try to clear the problems out of our herd here. It's just easy. What's the lesser ass ache? I've heard that at work plenty of times. All right, Doug, I'm curious, what are your thoughts? Because you're sitting here itching. I want to get to the peanut gallery, but Doug's dying, so they're next. What's up?
Well, you started off this whole thing reading that article, all right? And it's like, oh, no involvement from President Biden. All Justice Department. Well, who controls the Justice Department? Isn't it the Attorney General?
Sure.
And isn't the Attorney General appointed by the president? And didn't we see previous presidents kind of use their Attorney General?
It's a council.
But doesn't the Attorney General usually have some control?
No, National Security Council has are impacted zero by the presidential administration.
I mean, when you start going down far, yeah, I guess in a certain way,
we see
he's going to have
presidents
some control.
No, the Attorney General may be appointed by the president. The Attorney General has no impact on a 3-letter agency, period. And the National Security Council is not impacted by the Attorney General.
All right. So we all say, but how does our system really work? We don't know.
Again, a pretty scary fact that we can't genuinely say we know. But then we sit here and say our public education keeps us in the know of how this. No, they tell you.
It gives us the general understanding of the written public documents.
No,
what we don't know are
the
secrets.
No, they want you to have a general understanding. So that is the depth of your understanding. So you always know the balances of government, legislative, executive, and judicial, and you never know the branches of government that those three created outside of the balances of our government. So, yeah, I hear you. The attorney general has an impact on our day-to-day. Definitely not this realm.
I guess the influence is minimal at best. I'm sure there's some influence,
but it is worthy that it's in. Doug
I mean,
brings
Trump
that up,
wielded
and it's
some
worth,
power in his
well,
presidency.
So when I gave my spiel at the beginning, I admit I was super eager. There's not many things I could come on this show and get excited about that Biden, of all people, does, but Democrats in general. So I was really quick to get excited, like, wow, I'm going to be eager to exclaim how Biden was able to accomplish the thing that all of Trump's supporters wanted him to do. And they were like, it's going to be one of his last acts of presidency. He's going to do it. He's going to pardon Assange. And then, he's got this rough patch. They're stealing the election. The whole crazy shindig's coming to an end. And the people are like, as your final Hail Mary, you got to free Assange. And he ignored it all. Nothing. And he'd speak in code and allude to maybe that was something he was going to do. Never once. But Biden did. Or did he? So it makes you
Is it
curious.
convenient this happens before?
Exactly. I was just going to present the stage that I think what's going to happen is the mechanism that wants the dead guy to stay in charge because it allows them to continue their secret state. Well, they just found another way of supporting Biden over Trump. All of your supporters called for this, and you couldn't accomplish it. Biden did. And that's why I think it's such an important footnote. When the spokesperson of the National Security Council comes out and goes, hey, I just want to make it clear, the White House had nothing to do with it. And he's like, I don't even know what I'm having anything to do with. So I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts?
I had one more. Someone brought up like Snowden and Russia.
Somebody.
Yeah.
And like Assange, I'll say it's a different thing, but for the Snowden, all right, he released whatever he released. You believe whatever you believe. But then this mother effer goes to Russia, of all places. I get he's trying to protect stuff, whatever. But he goes to Russia, gets asylum, and he's now, so he spills our secrets saying we're doing dirty things, but now he's supporting Putin in a war against Ukraine and all the other all the shady murders of all the people in Ukraine or in Russia he does to keep his power. I just think that's kind of funny that he runs away from US to go to Russia. And now Russia is like doing some even dirtier shit.
So have you seen Snowden outwardly support the efforts of Vladimir Putin?
No, I just think it's funny that he goes there and Putin himself in 22 gives him like Russian citizenship and all that. And he basically became a pawn for Putin at the time, though. Like Putin got to get a nice platform awarding him citizenship and all that. And then like a year later or later that year or whenever it was, he like invades Ukraine and causes all this shit.
So are you making the parallel that
I just think it's weird that he
Snowden
tries to release
Edward
this
Snowden-
information and then runs away to Russia, which then Russia starts doing almost worse shit than us.
So I don't. So
Is Putin
okay,
really the best guy you
can
want to
we-
support?
can we all agree that probably going to Russia wasn't his best?
It made me hate
At
him.
least-
What are you guys talking about?
The optics didn't
Wait,
look
let
great.
me ask you this. What other options are there?
That's the other thing.
Like,
too.
What happened to
It's the other side of the coin.
Assange? Assange went to Assange, like hidden up whatever, and now he's gonna get to go home. Like he didn't get the whatever the 100 years or shit he was gonna get. Nah, he didn't get that.
Hey, so Doug, why was Julian Assange able to go to where he went? Which was information I provided everybody, but I don't know if you picked up on.
The
So
Ecuadorian
where
embassy
did he go? Yeah, and where was that?
in London
Okay, so why did he go there?
to escape being sent to the U.S.
Right, and
But you're telling me there aren't any embassies in the U.S. he could have gone to? Couldn't have gone to any
I
embassy?
probably-
he's got a brain circuit, like short circuit here that he isn't seeing. So let me spell it out for you. Why was Assange able to do that? Could it possibly be that he wasn't a United States citizen, so another embassy would not, I don't know, extradite him? Could that potentially be it? Could it be that he was a citizen of another country and would be able to
Okay,
find
but still, go into
refuge
Russia,
in
man.
another-
Go into Russia, though.
because it's the only place that provided and offered him refuge, Doug. So let me ask you
I would
this.
rather go to American jail than go to Russia.
That
better
is the greatest
dead than
lie
red.
you've ever said on the
Better
show.
dead than red.
That is truthfully the greatest lie you've ever said on the show.
No,
Because
I don't
you've
wanna go to
never
Russia.
actually had to make a real and difficult decision in your life. Like the most difficult decision in Doug's life is, can I have my Skittles in my living room while I watch the Marvel movie, or do I have to take a pee break at a movie theater? That's the extent of the most difficult thing you've ever had to deal with. You've never even considered laying your existence on the line for everybody.
Did
As
he
a
lay his
soldier-
existence on the line? Because then he ran away to
But
Russia.
they're bros. They're like actually, you know what I mean?
They're
So-
blood brothers.
What's up?
Ooh.
Oh.
I don't think they
Is
know
Ricky
Doug
on?
Brian brought him on.
Uh-oh.
Wait.
All
Were
right,
you
guys.
guys
You've been
wanting to say
So-
something?
No, I was just saying on the topic because we've been going for a long time to bring us on
Yeah.
the side. But on Sonic, you should go first.
Well, hold on. Before you guys open that point, I just wanted to finish the point with
Finish.
Doug,
Yeah, go ahead. Go
which
ahead. Yeah.
is, no, Doug, I'm talking to you.
No, but I'm saying
And I'm saying there is a severe difference here. And it's that this guy made a sacrifice and literally can't go anywhere else. Why? Because the enemy you just made isn't like Assange isn't an enemy of Sweden or so. It is the United States. And there is no one else that is going to protect you beyond Russia. China has made extradition treaties. The UK has extradition treaties. They were going to extradite Assange. If he didn't have millions of dollars of support of people donating so he could have legal defense protecting him from extradition, which is what the final result was. They made a political ploy, but extradition was coming in the next few months no matter what. The legal charade they put on of stalling 7 years was coming to an end. So it wasn't like Assange was able to find some glorious American true blood way of hiding from the government, and Snowden was just this sellout. It was, you are either dead or you become a Russian, which is far from ideal. I'll never want to carry the sins of Putin or whoever's running the joint. But you know what I do want is a tomorrow. And until you're forced with a very real decision, and I'm not saying, sacrificing your job and then your citizenship and then your freedom and life. I'm just saying, even put yourself in like a soldier's position. We are so comfortable. I'm throwing myself in that mix too, that we've never had to make a real life decision of jumping in front of a bullet for someone else, or, I'm going to jump on this mine so it doesn't take out the bus convoy of my brothers behind me. You've never even had to make that decision. But the reality is, we love living in the theatrical stories of the 2% of honorable men that do that thing. But the reality check is the Doug looks at the mine and goes, shit, the bus is going to die. And that's just how that goes. And you get to continue to eat
I
your
would save a
Skittles.
bus full
You
of
don't have to
Americans.
run to a theater, or you don't have to run to Russia. You get to chill in your living room, and you just want to live with the guilt of the bus of guys, but that's fine. I don't have to be a Russian because I'm not dead. I'm not red. Like, have some logic. All right. There's my tie, right, guys? What do you think?
If I have to choose between death and being Russian, I'm being Russian. I'm sorry. I'm being Russian.
Yes.
Yes, Alex.
Cold winters, cheap food. Sign me up.
Just like Canada?
At least they have cheap food. We don't have cheap food in Canada.
You're lucky if you get food without waiting in a line in Russia.
I don't know, Ricky, what are you thinking?
So, all right. they actually need to bring a stronger law to protect whistleblowers, yo.
Yes.
Because there is something to a whistleblower. No one is gonna really like it's long in the show. Fuck up their fucking financial situation, their family, and destroy their whole thing they've been working for so long, or just getting in for something they aspire to be. No one's gonna destroy that. So if someone really risks that and become a whistleblower, and the government like criminalize them and demonize them, there's something totally wrong when they're the one that said we need whistleblowers. We need people in the
So
back scene that we're not seeing to come out and say this. Like, you know what I mean? We're not there every day.
let me get your
So
thoughts on this one. What do we do in a world where Obama actually took the steps to make a lot of very impactful laws protecting whistleblowers? And like even Doug got excited over here as you were saying it about the fact that there actually are a lot of laws protecting whistleblowers. But guess who? The guy that made the laws was also the biggest targeter of whistleblowers. This guy prosecuted and went after some of the most number of whistleblowers. So this is the tongue-in-cheek we're dealing with. They say one thing, they put on a show, but then their actions are another. What's a law in the book if you will never have it enforced? Like, not only do we need it in the book, but then we need the folks that were okay. So now we're playing a game, and we all agreed we made that rule. Well, now we need that rule enforced. And when the folks around us aren't abiding by the rule, like they're trying to kill whistleblowers, then we need to, and then we need to hold them accountable. Oh, wait, there isn't really another way of doing that beyond the Second Amendment. So I'm glad we kind of got a council of guys here, because I want to get all your thoughts on this. I'm going to do so here's where I'm at on it. So I'm going to go into a deeper dive of this, but I literally learned about this yesterday as I was cleaning the studio.
All right.
There's a Patrick Bet David podcast that I highly encourage everybody to check out. I mean, I've truly never pushed a piece of content more. It's called on his page, They'll Erase You, and it's with Dr. Stephen Greer. And this is a gentleman that's a part of an advocacy group for whistleblowers. And they go over some of the greatest advances. You know, you had like a mind like Nikola Tesla that they killed because we couldn't have free electricity for the world. Well, the crux of this entire position Dr. Stephen Greer presents, and an issue around whistleblowers. He talks about how people come to him, whistleblowers come to him, and they express issues, and the number of people around him that have suicided themselves, or the science of the deep state has gotten, or the weaponry has gotten so sophisticated that like somebody could just bump up against you and you'll have fast-paced cancer that kills you in like a week. And it's just sciences that seem fictional to us, but are just everyday circumstance for this system at hand. I just want to share a thing that I learned. Go check out the Invention Secrecy Act. Not making it up. Very real thing. This exists in your country. The Invention Secrecy Act is a United States federal law that allows the government to restrict the publication, disclosure, or export of new inventions and technologies that are deemed to be potentially detrimental to national security. So all of these tinfoil hat conspiracy stories we've been hearing forever about, you know, the guy that created the hydrogen engine that died or killed himself, and oh, that's just all phony baloney. Well, it's literally, this law wouldn't exist if it wasn't a basic mechanism of the system to get, and they go into a depth I can't take it here. We don't have the time, but it's one we're a country run by corporations, so it's to protect the financial interests of the most powerful. But then also, I think it's to keep us suppressed. One of the things he claims is that they have seized the patent for teleportation, something so fantastical and silly, something that we could never see as a reality of our life. But at the same time, couldn't you see the value if you're trying to control the movement of people and control the comings and goings, the thoughts, the food, the resources of the people? Moving, transportation, that's so much of it. I mean, gas goes up 30 cents and it shakes the bedrock of your city for the next 4 weeks. If they can control it over 30% growth overnight, what world would we give you a teleportation device? Or if you could get from your tap the ability to drive your car, what monopoly does General Electric have if I don't need a plug or a battery for any device ever again? So I'm going to go deeper into this. There's a lot to uncover, but there's a number of whistleblowers. And just think about the American that experiences, you're sold this phony ass dream. Come here and create and innovate and change our landscape. But just don't change it to a point where we either lose our control or it's a technology we want, because then we're going to seize it, force the sale, and then you literally can never talk about its existence ever again. Like, imagine being an entrepreneur that creates a hydrogen engine. Of course, you're like, it shouldn't be surprising that it's not some conspiracy. Just some of these people end up killing themselves. Why? Because I worked my whole life to create a hydrogen engine. The government steals it from me, and then I'm not allowed to tell a soul about it. And if I tell a soul about it, they'll kill my family. I mean, the threat of that alone. One, tell me we're not dealing with an evil mafia at that point. But this exists. It doesn't exist for fun. So I don't know. I'm going to we've been going late. It's been a long one. Let's kind of, if you want to address this part, but also wrap up the thoughts, let's go to Silent Destroyer. Silent, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you guys. I think there is enough laws and mechanisms in place already that protect whistleblowers. But in this case, these laws and mechanisms have failed to protect Assange and Snowden. So much to the point that they literally would rather become Russian to protect themselves than to just rely on the laws that are already there in place to protect them, because those laws failed them. And I think at the end of the day, there needs to be more done towards that. But then, like you said, there's a lot of tongue-in-cheek where the government kind of writes these laws and publishes them and issues them and makes them laws. And then they go after whistleblowers and try to get them, which makes no sense. So I think at the end of the day, the only solution to that, in my opinion, is to have something tied towards the amendments, the first, second, and all that stuff, and have it so solid and so part of the fabric of society that if you are a whistleblower and you actually blow the whistle on the government or a company, in some cases, I know there's a lot of whistleblowers too that blow whistles on companies or corporations that do bad things, not just on the government. I think there needs to be some sort of like automatic immunity while all of that becomes investigated, and we make sure that, okay, is the government actually spying on us? Are they actually having mass surveillance on us? Is this company actually, using poisonous things in their formulas and in their food or whatever? And once that investigation is concluded and there's charges being laid, or once we have solid evidence and proof that the government's actually breaking laws and breaching our privacy and things like that, then the person can remain immune for the rest of the time, or basically have some sort of mechanism to where they are protected.
Flip the burden of proof onto them. All right, you have now been accused by a whistleblower. Yeah. Now prove your innocence.
Now prove you're innocent. Exactly, right? Like some sort of mechanism that can basically fully protect the whistleblower while we thoroughly investigate what the whistleblower says, or his claim or her claim or whatever, So then it's the burden is on the company or the government to actually prove that, hey, no, wait a minute, we don't actually spy on people. Why we're actually collecting data is because we want to protect you from the planes flying or whatever it is that they're trying to claim that they protect us, right? But you have to have the burden of proof. And you have to have solid evidence why you're doing these things. I think something like that would work pretty well.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Ricky, what do you got
So-
for us? Rapid thoughts.
We need to have like a calmness, like immunity, like as Silent said, like you shouldn't know what your name is, nothing. You should just be able to make a complaint and let the procedure work out itself. You feel me? You should not be able to disclose your name or anything of that sort. Also, before you said Snowden, I was gonna bring this back up about like you're only a target once if it's a like new thing coming into existence, that's when you're the target. If it's something that's played out and you're a whistleblower about it, okay, it's washed over news. But if it's the government spying on us and you blow it right then and there, they don't like that. They're like, okay, you should give us some time. You should give us some time and let us just, figure this out. Should we listen to everybody or should we listen to this certain group or this certain group? So it's selective. It's selective when it comes towards the government. You don't see who they really attack. You see who they really attack when it's there in the face and the American people or the people, whatever country is going to make a fuss about it right then and there. And it's just new. Like, oh, the public didn't know about this. Let's shut it down and attack this person individually and discredit them at all costs. So I feel like the whistleblower thing needs to go to where it's just like, you don't know who I am, you don't know where I'm from, nothing. You don't know my DNA, nothing. I just made this complaint. Y'all do your freaking job. Go see if I'm right or wrong. And that's it. Like, whistleblowers should just be like anonymous. Like, wear a freaking Jabberwocky mask. Like, you should be a Jabberwocky mask. You don't know who's behind the Jabberwocky mask.
Brother,
You know what I mean?
technically, that's what WikiLeaks was.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
WikiLeaks was a
Exactly,
Jabberwocky
and they
mask,
still
and
got
then
there.
They were like, we need to hunt down whoever the hell is tapping this board.
Exactly. And that just showed the face of the government even more. Like, if y'all really wanted whistleblowers, y'all should just promote this person and then y'all make the public relax more. But y'all did the opposite, which make the public panic more. Like, what y'all preach is not what y'all practicing. You know what I mean?
There's one little element that we haven't addressed, and it is as somebody that's incredibly cynical towards the American government, there is something that is worth getting excited about here. And it's, if I'm going to paint the picture, and if these whistleblowers, Snowden or Assange, are going to paint this picture that these are cold blood killers that are out for blood at any cost, then there is an advantage to the fact that there is a fruitful takeaway. And it's that our government was willing to work with him. You've got a paranoid whistleblower that's like, no, I'm not stepping foot over there. You're going to kill me. And I think an extension of goodwill is if their position is, no, we just want you to serve your time. We're not cold-blooded killers. Well, there's something at least nice to the fact that he served his time in a jail that he felt more comfortable in. They stalled it to the point where the time totally elapsed, and they were able to then go, all right, time served. You won't ever have to step a foot in our jail where we kill Epsteins, and you won't end up accidentally suiciding yourself. And we will even go to an American federal court in an island in the Mariana Islands right outside of Australia, so you can go right back home. So if there is a takeaway, it is like maybe they aren't as cold blood killers as we make them out to be. If they're willing to make this, but again, there's nothing these folks do that doesn't have an ultimatum. They did not let justice serve itself out. There's clearly a bigger play. Is it they want to use, and we'll find out. We've got a couple months, if that. The first debate is Thursday. If this shit happened Tuesday and the first debate has Trump getting crucified for not letting Assange out and Biden did, then guess what, you dumbasses? It was a play the whole time. So, and don't ever forget the truth Shakespeare told us, which is the world is their stage. Can you bring back Ricky real quick? I just want to make sure he was able to finish his thought. Ricky, any wrapping thoughts beyond that?
Yeah. That was my. You just need to protect them more. This should be more
It's always good.
anonymous. Like protect the whistleblower more. Like where they don't have to disclose their name. Just name the company, what the complaint's about, and go about it. Because
again, dude,
the media publicize, like, the media like action. So the government will attack back the whistleblower or the corporation, and it's sensationalized now. Like, oh, it's this one person standing against a corporation telling their dark secrets. And it doesn't need to be there. Just make a complaint and the government actually do its freaking job.
That's the problem. Like, that's so easy. That's where the theory meets the reality. And so again, it's easy to say, let them give it anonymously. Well, okay, who receives the anonymous complaint? Who enforces the anonymous complaint? And then if all the people that hear the complaint and enforce the complaint is the same entity that the complaint is against, I think it's fair to say you're not actually going to see any fruits of it. So it comes from us. It comes from the Second Amendment. The only place that they get held accountable in the areas at which they aren't following our rules, the only place at which we make them follow our rules isn't by asking them, please.
But like I'm not even asking them to whistleblow to the government. Whistleblow to a journalist or someone.
What is the journalist going to do? But that's what WikiLeaks was.
Yeah.
And the second
that is fact.
then they hunt you down.
But that was on the internet. Come on now. Every government corporation in the world is going to be able to track any VPN, anything to come back to whoever, no matter how anonymous you try to be. The internet was created by the government. Like, come on.
So there is no anonymous.
But if you do as an anonymous, go to old fashioned, you got the paper and mail it to there's ways to it, man. But there's a lot of cameras nowadays. Like, we're in a surveillance state. It's hard, but that's what I'm saying. We need to protect the respect.
Ricky, let's just say, I don't know, the Washington Post wants to become like this fighter for the people, and they're willing to welcome whistleblowers, and they encourage whistleblowers to dump information to them. One of the issues you're going to find is, how does the Washington Post get that information? You're suggesting quietly, anonymously get it like a letter, traditional ways, whatever. Well, if they just get a letter, they can't report this to be fact. It needs to be corroborated. So, like, they need to have somebody willing to identify themselves, and they'll keep that identity secret. Or, you don't have to identify yourself, but you got to give us some credentials to show that you have security clearance that proves you actually are a part of national security. Or
that is facts. That is facts. That is facts.
Something for them to act on. They need to give something that the person they're reporting to may keep anonymous, but still corroborates the fact that it's true. And so as long as that element is always necessary, there will always be a tracer. And whether it's following the GPS of the phone, like, oh, the letter was delivered to the Washington Post at 12 p.m. on Tuesday, and we're able to show that Bob Does Sports was at the front door at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, and he was the only one within 100 yards of this moment. It clearly was him. That, like, the surveillance state has gotten so huge that, and again, they're the referee of the game you're trying to report them for cheating in. It's like, you're done for. They're the judge, jury, and executioner. But again, you don't want to bury the theoretical point that is so important, and it's, we do need to find, and that's what makes this exercise important. We need to continue this brainstorm, and we need to continue to try to figure out policies and ways of accomplishing it, because it isn't easy, but it definitely can't be a dead issue, as Ricky's acknowledging. We got to find a way of cultivating this. You and I will wrap it. So, Doug, give us your wrapping thoughts.
I feel like it'd be a lot easier to pass information if payphones were still a thing. That's my thought. You're mentioning the tracking of the cell phones and everything. It's like, damn it, that's the real reason they got rid
But
of
if they could
payphones.
show a payphone made this call at this time,
How are they going to find it, though? Because, like, so many people are walking down the streets. There's not usually a camera. Like, now, if you want to use a phone that's not your cell phone, you got to go somewhere that usually has a camera, front desk
Doug
of a
probably
place
is
or
right.
whatever.
This is a way of control.
That is why, the real reason
no
why
more
they got rid of it.
anonymous phone calls or untraceable phone
Yep.
calls.
That's my thought there. Your point you brought up made me think of that. And you know what? That's my wrapping thought is the government made us get rid of payphones.
Snowden still sucks for going to Russia, though. He stands by that.
Yeah, I'd rather gone to China, man.
All right, let me
Oh my God.
let me go the inverse.
I love
of
Chinese
this.
food.
I think if governments cannot always be bad all the time. I think different administrations, different managements within agencies have the ability to grow and be better. And I think this Julian Assange thing is a step closer in the right direction of that. They're not trying to unalive him. They're not trying to they're not clawing at the door to get him back over the States. They're basically just going, all right, whatever. You did your damage. It didn't seem to do too much damage to us. We'll just whatever, let you go about it that way. But I do think there is an opportunity. This is in sense a way to hold our governments accountable. And with that type of information, with that embarrassment, I think some of the things we don't know is where did that information go, and who in the government is at least virtuous enough to understand and go, these things weren't great. Attacking civilians, not awesome. We need to stop that. If we want any respect whatsoever, we need to stop that. Did this manage to get to the right person's attention to make enough change and changing these things?
Unfortunately, it did. And that right person was exiled from our country and had to hide and become a Russian.
Well, but does that create change down the road for other people?
We're living it.
Possibly.
I think so. We're living it.
And I think the one thing we also forget with the whistleblower laws, the protections, is at the same time the government has the vehicle with treason. So whistleblowing and treason are a very thin line. I could easily see someone having the argument, well, this is whistleblowing because of X, Y, and Z, where the government's going, no, this is treason because of X, Y, and Z, because you don't understand the full picture of what's going on. Sometimes they keep these things decompartmentalized because anyone who knows the full picture is able to use it, against us. So there is, there is an opportunity. Not every whistleblower is of equal footing on being heroic. That's why I think Edward Snowden's he's a step above Julian Assange. Julian Assange used it for some political gain. I think he tried to manipulate things in a certain way, even though it was virtuous to just send out the raw information. Yes. But Edward Snowden didn't make it political. At all. Just said, hey, this agency's doing this and watching over you, and it's happening everywhere. I've seen it with my own eyes. And he put a face to name. Assange didn't quite start that way.
Right.
The first chapter of WikiLeaks is a website leaking stuff.
Yeah.
First chapter, Edward Snowden, was him on, I don't know, it was like CNN or something. That's it. This is where he's at. So I think that's the type of whistleblower we hope every whistleblower is. But I don't know if every whistleblower is like that.
That's a great way to wrap it.
Gotta bring her back a little bit here.
I feel bad for Brian because I know we're getting way too close to being past his bedtime. So I'm going to keep my wrapping thoughts short, which is one, I want to acknowledge Silent's point, which is it's sad that it gets to a point where it's so bad for these people who did something so admirable that they have to choose to be a Russian over death. And of course, that is the sensible option. But at the same time, it's sad that that's even a life that we allow. The bigger piece, though, Ricky kind of presents this inquiry of how do we create a system that allows for whistleblowers to do what they do, be protected, and you know, we can evaluate the information they provide on our own, but at least provide avenues for them to support or present this. He kind of touched upon it and we left it, but one of the really cool ones I like is, if I could suggest a system, it would be, as I kind of alluded to, flipping that burden of proof. So I got a gentleman coming on Friday. I'm doing a podcast. We're going to be breaking down the philosophy of crime. And he's a pretty respected author to talk about different aspects. And one of the things he believes that I'm in conflict with, but it'll make for a fruitful conversation, is he wants to eliminate bonds. And part of his basis is that you are innocent until you are proven guilty. So why are we treating you like a criminal before you are innocent? Now, I have a litany of reasons, and you should tune into our podcast to find out if I'm successful in defending the position. But in that dialogue, what I want to remind is you are innocent till proven guilty, which means nothing other than where the burden of proof is. It isn't that you're truly innocent. You still do need to prove that you didn't do what we're claiming. We, the state, have infringed on your liberties because we are of the belief that you created some infraction against the community or the society. You need to prove to us that you didn't. But in lieu of that, the burden of that proof is on me, the claimant, not you. But you still need to prove you didn't do it. It's that I need to be the one that's successful in making that proof. The burden is on me. You can't just sit there, and technically you could.
You can silent your way to the...
But at the same time, a proactive defense is the more effective defense. So I only bring that up because I think it'd be beneficial in these situations to flip the burden, but that burden isn't totally eradicated. You come out and make a claim, and it's that, I'm not going to say the letters, but a 3-letter agency is tapping into your phone. I think that should opposite, and maybe there's some criticism to this. Instead of it being anonymous, I think it should be totally public. It should be broadcast. It should be publicized. This man is claiming this piece. That way, you have the protection of the entire country's eyeballs on you. And the moment that guy kills himself or does not see the trial through its entirety, we go crazy and burn this bitch down. Like that's how it's got to be. We make it incredibly public, and the thing that ensures his safety is we will all we'll blow the house up if he does not get to have his day in court. And then the burden flips to you, 3-letter agency. He's claiming you are tapping into my phones. It is now up to you to prove that you're not. Here's all the evidence he provided, refute it, whatever. And if you cannot, to a effective standard, and we can come up with whatever that standard of proof needs to be, then, like you said, he gets set free and it's over. If it gets proven as a total fabricated lie, then, maybe that's akin to treason, and we need to, kind of like accusations of SA, great, like women using that as a weapon against men. Well, one way of fixing that is if you make a false accusation of SA, there should be legal repercussions for making those type of legal claim or illegal claims. So my wrapping thought is, I think if you flip the burden, there could be something there. But at the same time, I'm dying on the hill. If we're playing a game and it's the referee you're trying to call out and they're the ones that get to call the shots, yes or no, you're losing no matter what. And the only way out is that Second Amendment. So, Brian, we got to get you to bed. What are your wrapping thoughts?
First, Ricky has a hot take.
Hot take. Plane is taking off with the hot take. So, in 7 years, in the next 3 years, soda is going to be free. Soda's going to be free. America is going to be like, okay, just like I said earlier, it's already passed. It's not breaking news. It's nothing. They're gonna pardon Snowden. Oh, time served. You've been excommunicated like a Viking back in the day. Now you're back, bro. Come back in the tribe. You're a Spartan now. Come back. Build up yourself. You've been out in a while. Come back, Snowden. Come back. They're gonna
It's
invite
like
him back.
he's got
They're
a
gonna
mouse
pardon
trap.
him.
It's like, come eat some cheese. We got a whole spread for you.
We got a
Good job,
charcuterie board. What we say? We got a charcuterie board. Charcuterie board. I don't know how to say that word.
Just waiting for you. Come eat out. Oh,
Come
that's
on.
funny.
But I feel like
think-
it's gonna
I think
happen.
you're
It's gonna
right.
happen.
I think you're right. We're gonna see it. As long as they could use it as a political tool. If not,
Facts.
they have no problem sacrificing the goat. So, Brian, you got to get to bed, buddy. What are your thoughts?
I think what was it? Yik Yak should be brought back.
Yik
Yak
for
was
Best
all
college experience ever with Yik Yak.
for all the whistleblowing government conspiracies. I think
that would be amazing.
yeah, just a website.
Yik Yak.
You get to have your own like username every time you post something, and you just write 150 characters, whatever you can fit in there.
Maybe in your phone all day long.
No, for the past like 20 minutes, I've been singing Jules Santana, the whistle song in my head. I don't know. It has nothing to do with it. Just whistle blowing.
Very nice.
I'm doing Flow Rider.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us on the live show. We go live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. And again, the whole purpose of the live show is to get you involved. I want to thank the 26 folks that have stayed with us and joined us the whole show. I'm just going to sell it to you guys to get some encouragement out there to help us drum up some views. I have told the crew, everybody in the studio, even the Dougie Fresh, if there is a point at which we could get a live to 200 viewers at a single time. Like if we get that number to 200 across the platforms, everybody in here has one of these Carolina Reaper blazing gummy bears. And it ain't going to be fun, but the things we do for you and the fun of entertainment. So help us accomplish that goal. Help me bring pain to the folks in my studio here. And that's by helping us get to that 200. The way to do that, if we made you laugh, if we made you think, the best thing you could do is share this show. If you liked it, that means somebody else that you know did too. So be sure to share that around so the people around you can enjoy it. But also, I got to bring in the folks that joined us so they can tell you where to find them. First, we'll go to Ricky from Just Another Day TV.
Yo, man, Ricky, Just Another Day TV, man. This show has been awesome. People, we took your time over, but you enjoyed it. I know y'all have. Like, this is what we do, man. It's the Rethink Tank, and we make you think over and over. Like, this is it. This is the content.
Yo,
and y'all
Ricky.
love it, enjoy it, and enjoy this. But thank y'all for everything. Ricky, Just Another Day TV. You feel me?
Ricky.
And I feel bad for y'all because I ain't got to eat that pepper. I ain't in the studio. So, boy, what's up? Cheers. You will have a whiskey in a week.
Well, Ricky, I got to acknowledge you had us celebrating maybe 3 episodes ago because
It's 800 now.
has been stalemated at like 80 followers for 5 years through the pandemic. It was hell, 4 years maybe. And these last like couple months, it's been popping off. Just 3 weeks ago, Ricky had us all clapping for 500. Ricky, we're at 807 today. Oh,
I know. I seen it earlier, but I didn't want to mention it. But until we get the other 200, I swear I
That's
was
it.
going to mention it until the other 200. Then we're monetized.
The only
You
reason
feel me?
I'm
So I
mentioning
wasn't going to mention it.
The only reason I am is because it's so soon to the last time we were celebrating. Like,
Fact.
literally,
I
we're
said
more
this
than
in the let
halfway.
earlier. I said this in the let earlier.
Again.
Maybe in the
Thank you
next
to the
year,
folks
we
that
have to
joined
go back to Ohio because Alex is going to have a studio and we're going to have to do what it do no matter how hard it
Yeah,
gets.
dude,
We're going to have to do what it do and we're going to have to thug it out and drop 5 shows every week, take the weekends off. I
Wait,
just told her
Ricky.
that while I was in the green room. I'm just saying.
You didn't hear I'm
Success.
buying the new local movie theater?
I'm saying. She wasn't home yet. She didn't get off work. And I freeloaded on her. But look,
That's fair.
God is
Hey,
great.
what's up,
Everything is
bro?
great.
What?
We're great. And I appreciate you, Alex. I appreciate everything. Thank. Nothing but up from here, man. Bless up, folks.
Right.
Drop comments next week. Hey, yo, folks, just send me voice chats of the topics you see me post or the topics of past weeks. Send me voice notes. Send me voice chats on my Instagram at the right underscore wait 876. Send me voice notes so we can have your voice on the fucking live. Send us. We want y'all opinion to be heard. Y'all part of this as much as us, man. I appreciate you, Alex. I appreciate the Rethink Tank, man. We out here.
That. Perfectly said. But we also can't do it without the other half of the Pickle Gallery, and I got to thank joining us, his patience with another late one. Silent Destroyer, how you doing? Thank you. Tell him where to find
I'm doing great. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm live every single day on kick.com/Silent Destroyer. Make sure to tune in.
That's right. Sweet and easy every time. Guys, again, I appreciate you joining us. We go live every week, every Tuesday at 7 p.m. But Brian and I also do a live show on Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. Have a little palate cleanser, share a cup of coffee with us, and have some laughs. Brian, I got to say, this past weekend was pretty popping. That was a good one.
Yeah, I like this episode. That latest Sunday episode.
So be sure to jump over to Rethink Actions. It's our reactions channel. This past weekend, we had funny fail videos, old folks versus kids, and it was a good time. So be sure to jump over there. But like I said, we have all new content coming across the week, all different ways. We got the podcast. Like I said, I have. So here's where I'm at. If you want to hear of these crazy government acts and how we can break them down, all the different content can be found at one central location, and that's at our website at www.rethinktankpodcast.com. So be sure to jump on over there to see the updates and find everything else. But otherwise, guys, we'll catch you next week live